Monday, and no, it is not Monday. That's right, because court is on a very weird scheduling thing. I don't know, last minute scheduling stuff, blah, 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 blah. But today is Tuesday, and it's a half day today. How long is it going to take for this trial to end? We're on day 15 of the Karen Read trial, and we are now doing the cross-examination of Jen McCabe. And I heard it was going to be Mr. Jackson. I mean, either way, Mr. Jackson, Mr. Yannetti, both of them are quite fearful, in my opinion, for cross-examination. They are quite good at it, but we're going to listen to the cross-examination today. I don't know if it's going to go for the entirety of the half day or if there's going to be more cross-examination the next day. I guess we'll see. But Jen McCabe, very huge witness for the state, and I kept thinking that maybe she should have just went first. She should have been one of the first ones to testify, or at least the ones after paramedics, law enforcement, because she has a lot to say, and then she helps us put a timeline together. I found her testimony to be quite compelling, and you know, there was one inconsistency that I was able to identify right away, and that was when she talked about getting to John O'Keefe's house with Karen, with Carrie, and how she said they all got out of the car, and then Karen Read was pointing to the taillight that was broke, and she's like, look, guys, the taillight's missing, the taillight's cracked, blah, 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 whatever. But shortly afterwards, that was shown on surveillance footage that John O'Keefe has, and we didn't see any of that. We just saw the women running into the house really quickly. So I'm sure in cross-examination, I'm sure that's going to be brought up. But other than that, I did find her to be a pretty compelling witness. Let's get to cross-examination, and let's see how we feel about Jen McCabe. Hi, Taxi. How are you doing today? How's it going? And I have to go out of town today, so let's see how long this will take us. Oh boy. All right, I'm ready. I haven't watched any of this. I just want to let you guys know. First reaction is with you guys. Sometimes I'll like pre-watch, or I'll have it playing in the background and listen to it, but I had a lot of errands to do today, so I have not heard a single thing, any testimony or anything like that.
Ms. McCabe, family is important to you, is it not?
Yes.
As a matter of fact, it's probably fair to say that family is one of the most important.
Wait a second, why are there no captions on here? I need captions. Hi, Oahu, Spring, how are you doing today? Oh no, there are no captions available.
Things in your life.
Yes.
You indicated on Friday that you know John O'Keefe, or you knew John O'Keefe, and you considered him a friend.
Yes.
You also indicated that you know Ms. Read, and at some point you considered her a friend.
Yes.
But clearly, John O'Keefe was not family, was he?
No.
He was not a McCabe, correct?
No.
He was not an Albert.
No.
Karen Read is not family, correct?
Correct.
Not a McCabe.
No.
She's not an Albert.
No.
Hi, Lakia.
Ms. McCabe, when you were at Waterfall on the evening of the 28th, going into the early morning hours of the 29th, you spent some time with John O'Keefe and Karen Read.
Correct.
You didn't see any tension between the two of them at the time?
No.
Matter of fact, they seemed like a normal couple to you?
I didn't see them interact much.
They were both engaging with you, correct?
I had separate conversations with them.
So John O'Keefe, we've seen from several videos, I'm not going to play the video, John O'Keefe was situated for the most part over in that corner as the camera is looking, the right corner of the bar, along with you, the O'Keefe's, I think Matt McCabe was over there as well, correct?
I can't be sure, but I know I spoke to Karen in that corner.
How do I think it's going to go? I don't know. I truly have no idea, but all I know is the two attorneys that Karen Read has hired, they are very good at their cross-examination. So let's see what happens.
And certainly you saw nothing to suggest that there was any tension or discord between and among those individuals, certainly between Ms. Read.
But they do both tend to take the aggressive approach. So I wonder, how does the jury feel about that? Sometimes if the defense attorney is way too aggressive with a witness that maybe like one of the jury members like, they might not like that, right? So
And Mr. O'Keefe, correct?
Correct.
When you left Fairview, were you among the first to leave or among the last to leave?
I left there was 4 of us that left total. It was myself, my husband, Matt, Julie Nagel, and Sarah Levinson.
When you walked out, Karina O'Keefe was close by, close himself, correct?
Oh, wait, are you talking about leaving the waterfall?
The waterfall.
Oh, I'm sorry.
yeah, I'm like, what time zone where are we at?
Sorry, I was confused. I was talking about Fairview. Leaving the waterfall?
Correct.
Yes, we were one of the last to leave.
All right. And Ms. Karina O'Keefe was sort of in tow right with you as you were walking out, correct?
Yes.
And Karen Read, my client, was also heading that direction as well, correct?
Yes.
And you said something to Ms. Read, did you not? As you walked out.
We were in a conversation, yes.
Did you say specifically, you're coming with me to Karen?
No,
You didn't say that.
not exactly those words.
What exactly were the words that you used?
I said, why don't you come with me?
Yeah, I think one of the witnesses that testified said she went up to Karen Read, was like, oh, you're going to come with me.
And you even waited outside in what was ultimately freezing cold temperatures for the street, correct?
Yes.
If you could take a look, Your Honor, with court's permission, Exhibit 53, I'd like to play about maybe a 15-second clip from
We
that.
got French fries. We got popcorn. Oh
Actually, it's a
Lord,
little bit longer than that. Maybe a minute.
I'm full right now. All right, so the snow's coming down. It's
This is about
12:10.
run 45 seconds. Mr. K, do you recognize what's depicted in this portion of the video?
Flag.
I
car?
see a car. It's kind of hard to see. I don't know what the thing on the white thing is.
Okay, let's go ahead and play it and let's see if you recognize it.
Why would they put a flag in front of the surveillance footage like that? It's so funny. They probably didn't think it through. Oh, there's someone walking there.
Move further. It's also not super clear. Can you see a person in that video?
From where I'm sitting now.
It's a little tough.
Yes.
Let's go ahead and play it forward. Well, actually,
who is
advance
that?
just a little bit. Did you see a person in the background right there?
Honestly, I can't make out what that is.
Let's play it forward and see if this helps.
It's the person ghost thing. Is that
Now
John?
you see a person.
Yes.
The lighting is terrible. I apologize. Not my video. Do you know who that person is?
I don't know.
That's you, isn't it?
Is it?
I can't tell from that picture if that's me.
Okay, let's maybe play it a
I thought it was gonna be a guy. I can't tell either.
little bit further forward.
Should I put my glasses on? Can y'all tell, chat?
Awesome. Now, with the flag out of the way, do you recognize anybody in the foreground down at the bottom right?
Is that John?
That looks to be John.
Mr. O'Keefe?
Yes,
Do you see someone to his right?
I do. Yes.
And who's
I don't see shit.
that person?
I cannot make it out in the photo.
Okay, let's go ahead and play forward.
Let's see. What is John wearing? John is wearing like a sweatshirt hoodie thing.
And pause. You see the person with the sort of white shoes just above the car.
Yes.
Does that appear to be you?
I can't make that out that it's me, but I know I was there and I know I spoke with them.
Okay, so you do recall walking outside and sort of waiting and hovering in about that area, correct?
I was talking with them.
Okay. Does it appear that you're talking with them in
No.
this frame?
Hey, Storm.
It looks like they've walked away.
Right. As a matter of fact, it looked like they walked away without talking to you outside, correct?
Well, do you have video of moments before that when I was standing talking to them?
Well, see, this is the point where I get to ask the questions and you get to answer.
This is cross-examination, ma'am, not direct. Mr. Lally will get to it if he does.
I'm asking you, you see yourself standing in the parking lot after John and the person to his right had walked away.
Yes.
Okay. Let's play it forward just a few more seconds.
Okay, what is he trying to establish here? So that might be Jen, might not. I honestly can't tell if that's a guy or a gal.
And what do you appear to be doing at that point?
Walking to my car.
Okay, so you turn around and left after Mr. O'Keefe and the person to his right walked away, correct?
Correct.
As you sit here, even though the video leaves a little to be desired, you know that John O'Keefe left with Karen, correct?
Yes,
So the person to his right, the more petite person with long hair, that would be Karen.
I would assume.
Okay. So you waited out in the parking lot for a few minutes after you said or joked, "You're coming with me," or something like that, correct?
No, I was speaking to them and then I walked to my car.
You didn't say to Mr. O'Keefe, "You're coming with me." You said to Karen Reed, "You're coming with me," or something to that effect, correct?
Mr. O'Keefe was not outside when I said to Karen, "You're coming with me." I told Karen,
And
"You're
Karen shaking her head up and down.
coming with me," because John was still in the bar with Matt.
So you asked Karen to come with you in your car,
Yes,
to give her a ride,
yes,
separate from John O'Keefe.
yes. I figured he could go with Matt because they were still in the bar.
Was there a reason why you wanted to separate Miss Reed from Mr. O'Keefe at that moment?
No,
Why not just walk to your car with Matt and go where you're going to go?
Matt was still inside.
So you thought it was important enough to make the statement, "You're coming with me," or something to that effect, to my client, to separate her from John O'Keefe, even though your testimony is John O'Keefe was just inside the bar.
Objection.
Sustained as to that form. Ask it differently.
Sure. Did you believe it was important at that point to ask Miss Reed to come with you, which would separate her from John O'Keefe?
Is he trying to show that like Jen was trying to separate the two of them and then lure them into 34? I'm a little confused, I guess.
There was never any idea of separating them.
Except for the fact the idea was, "You're coming with me," not "You two are coming with me," correct?
Incorrect.
By definition, if she came with you, you'd be separating her from John, wouldn't you?
We were standing outside
Question
talking.
would be answered yes or no. By definition, your statement to her, "You come with me," would separate her from John, wouldn't it?
It would not because we were all going back to Fairview Road.
Yeah, I personally don't like when attorneys do this sometimes. It's like they're trying to get the witness to say yes or no to something that would match their story, the defense's story. But at the same time, sometimes it's not a yes or no. And then sometimes when you're trying to extract that out of the witness and you're trying really hard to, I don't know. For me, I'm just kind of like, it looks like we're trying to do like a stretch here, but maybe he's trying to get to some place somewhere. And once we see the connected dots, we'll be like, oh, okay, that's what he was doing, I guess. Hi, Joe.
At the same time, ma'am, correct? Your idea is to bring Karen with you, separate and apart from John.
We were waiting for John to come out, and I said, why don't you just come with me? It was innocent.
I'm not asking for your explanation. You'll get to that with Mr. Lau. I'm asking for a yes or no question, or yes or no answer. By definition, your invitation would separate Karen from John, would it not?
Objection.
Right over.
Sustained. Move on.
Would it or would it not separate John and Karen for the right over?
The judge says move on.
Sustained.
Now, when you arrived at Fairview, some folks were already there, correct?
Yes.
Who was already there?
Brian Higgins, Brian Albert, Nicole Albert, Caitlin Albert, Julie Nagel, Sarah Levinson, and Brian Albert Jr.
And then you arrived, as we saw, you walked through the parking lot, got in your car, you arrived, I presume, with your husband, Matt. and kid.
Yes, correct.
Yeah, because I can imagine her like going up to Karen and being playful, drunk, be like, oh, you're coming with me, you know? But the defense is trying to say that she's trying to separate Karen from John.
Ask a
That's
question
what I'm
about
getting
Mr. Higgins.
sense of. Hi, Rain. Hi, Nicole.
You said on Friday that you saw his vehicle when you got to the scene, correct?
Yes,
And you said that it was pulled up a little bit in front of the mailbox, correct?
yes.
Can we have Exhibit 66 with the court's permission, please?
Okay.
This is a digital model of the location. Do you recognize this?
Mm-hmm. Brian to the third power. Hi, Austin.
Yes,
There appear to be a relative scale model of 34 Fairview.
yes.
That's so cool. They made the scale model.
This would be the front door, correct?
Yes.
And where's the mailbox? If you can point to it with the laser pointer. Okay, so you're pointing to an area just in front of a car that's in the driveway, correct?
Yes.
And then the driveway's to the right.
Yes.
How's everyone day so far? How are you guys? You guys have a good weekend?
Yes.
And then along this line is the front lawn area and property line of 34 Fairview, correct?
Yes.
You indicated that that Jeep was just a little bit in front of the mailbox, meaning
So depending on who you ask, some people said they saw a Jeep there, which is supposed to be Brian Higgins' car. Some people said they didn't see a Jeep there. I think it was just probably because some people were interviewed months afterwards. So they probably either forgot, don't remember, don't recall it, or maybe the Jeep really wasn't there. Huh, what a shame that some people were interviewed months later and sometimes years later.
about there, correct?
Yes.
And
was a good
the rear end
weekend.
of that Jeep would be butting up against the driveway,
Yes.
or at least the line of the driveway, correct?
Yes.
That's quite a bit of detail about where that Jeep was. Would you agree?
No, because I drove down the street and I took a left into the driveway and there was a Jeep there.
Okay.
Hey, Toy Box. Yes, exactly. I think a lot of people are like, what is this case? What happened?
What I'm asking is, you didn't just say your memory was not just somewhere in front of a house. It's literally right in front of the mailbox, the front end of it, adjoining the line of the driveway, correct?
Yes,
That detail obviously stuck out in your mind.
it did because I was wondering whose Jeep it was.
Did you discuss that detail with your husband at any point?
Not sure.
You're not sure? Might have.
I'm not sure if I said whose Jeep is that.
No, I don't mean then. I mean between then and now, have you and Mr. McCabe ever discussed where that Jeep was or your memories of where that Jeep was?
Possibly.
You're aware that he put the Jeep in the exact same place that you did.
Objection.
Are you aware of that?
I am. Oh, wait, no. Excuse me. Repeat the question?
You're aware that he puts the Jeep in the exact same spot you just put the Jeep, right in front of that mailbox, right?
I know he knows where the Jeep was. I'm not aware what he said in here.
Does he know where the Jeep was because you told him what to say about the Jeep?
Absolutely not. It's because we drove together in the car and I asked. I possibly could have asked.
One at a time, please,
I'm sorry, I didn't mean.
I haven't done it yet. I haven't done the baking soda thing yet. I left it open for a little bit. I just need to buy baking soda. But thanks for asking. Okay, so I guess there are some things that I'm trying to wonder where the defense attorney is getting at. So Brian Higgins' car, noted.
I need to step on your words. I thought you.
That's okay. You can continue.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
I don't think we got your answer, though.
Okay.
Yeah, I think Madam Court Reporter was asking for your answer.
Give us
Can you
the answer,
address-
ma'am.
To the question of did he know where the Jeep was?
Whether or not you told him where the Jeep was.
I did not need to tell Matt where the Jeep was. He knew because we were in the car together.
But you two discussed it.
When are you asking?
At any time between January 29th and today.
I'm sure we have, yes.
You were also interviewed by Trooper Proctor on January 29th, 2022, correct?
Yes.
And you were asked a series of open-ended questions. What did you see? Where did you see it? Correct?
Yes.
Are we putting words in your mouth?
No.
They told you what to say at that time.
No.
And you told Trooper Proctor that when you arrived at the scene, after you got there, you, quote, first observed the vehicle, meaning Miss Reed's SUV, parked on the street by the driveway facing the direction of Chapman. Correct?
Do you have something I can look at to refresh my memory?
Sure. Do you not have a memory exactly what you told Trooper Proctor?
Well, I know what
Yes or no? You need your memory refreshed?
I would like to see what the report
So
says.
if the car is, if I remember correctly, if the car is facing Chapman, that would mean that if you're inside the house looking out the window, the car is facing towards the lamppost. Oh, sorry, towards the flagpole, right?
Please.
Permission? Yes. Thank you. Review.
Yes.
Recollection.
Cool.
I'm asking you, I'm so sorry to do this. I don't mean to say to Trooper Proctor on the 29th.
Well, I know what I said to Proctor Trooper on the 29th.
Okay. I have to do it this way, it's court rules. Does that help you with your recollection of what you told Trooper Proctor?
I didn't tell I told Trooper Proctor the car was outside when I looked at the front door, it was straight outside. I told Trooper Proctor
Sorry,
the
sorry.
car was outside
I didn't mean to press the keyboard.
when I looked at the front door, it was straight outside.
Okay. I can't quite get the answer I'm looking for. The court is going to require me to ask this question again. Does that refresh your recollection, yes or no, as to what you told Trooper
Hi,
Proctor?
Jones.
I did not say this to Trooper Proctor, no.
It doesn't help.
No.
Okay. May I approach?
Yes.
Thank you. So you did speak to Trooper Proctor on the 29th, correct?
Correct.
And Trooper Proctor asked you some very specific questions about where things were, correct?
Correct.
Focused on Miss Reed's SUV, didn't he? Asked you questions about where Miss Reed's SUV
You
was.
can show me in the report.
Just read it.
So just off of what I just read, is that what you're going off of? Yes?
I'm asking for your memory. You're testifying.
Yes, so my memory is exactly where the car was.
Hold on. So
Oh, Jesus. Relax.
it's very important that both of you, one person at a time, speaks.
Thank
Can
you,
do that
Judge.
More time than.
Did you talk to Trooper Proctor about where the SUV was?
Yes,
Thank you. And he asked you questions about where it was situated outside, correct?
yes,
And you told him that you first observed it parked on the street by the driveway facing the direction of Chapman, correct?
I told him that when I looked out the front door, the car was straight ahead. And yes, it was facing up Chapman.
And you left out
The car was straight ahead, and yes, it was. Okay, so
a little part by the driveway, correct?
That could have been his interpretation or an error on his part.
I see. So Trooper Proctor is wrong about what you said.
Objection.
No, I'll let him have it. Do you think he's wrong about what you said?
I 100% said it was straight out the front door.
Okay, next question, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. And during the course of that conversation, you never once, Ms. McCabe, not once, mentioned a several-ton Jeep with a snowplow attached to it, did you?
I'm not sure if I did or not.
Let's take another look at the report. Would that refresh your recollection to see the report?
can we see the report? I want to see the
May I
report.
approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
Correct,
That interview was taken on January 29th, correct?
correct,
That interview was taken just a few hours, not days or weeks, hours after the events in question, correct?
correct,
And you were asked what you saw, what you observed in front of 34 Fairview on that morning, correct? I'm sorry, the night before, correct?
He asked specific questions about Miss Reed's vehicle.
Okay. And when you said where you remember Miss Reed's vehicle being, you placed it in the exact spot where you're now saying there was a Jeep with a snowplow on it, correct?
Incorrect. I never placed Miss Reed's car in the spot where Mr. Higgins' vehicle was.
So as Trooper Proctor was taking notes about what you were saying, he just got it wrong.
You'd have to ask Trooper Proctor.
I will.
We're going to call Trooper Proctor. Don't worry, he says.
And you never mentioned, according to that report, not one word about a Jeep, right?
I may never have been asked about a Jeep.
So if you weren't asked about a Jeep, you also weren't asked about a Nissan Altima. Mention that?
Who drives a Nissan?
No.
Right. Because what he asked you was, what did you observe in front of the house? Ma'am, that's what he asked you.
Oh, no
wasn't
one
it?
does.
No.
And you said, I observed her car by the house.
No.
And you never mentioned the Jeep, did you?
You are not portraying what the conversation was.
Did you or did you not mention a Jeep sitting on that, right by that driveway, Trooper Proctor? Yes or no?
It's not in the report. I don't recall if he asked me about a Jeep.
Now, following the events of January 28th, 29th, you spoke
I mean, honestly, could we really go by anything in Trooper Proctor's reports? Anything with Trooper Proctor related?
extensively to Chris and Julie Albert, correct?
What do you mean by extensively?
Did you speak at all?
Yes, we did.
Between then and now, to Chris and Julie Albert.
Do I speak to Chris and Julie Albert?
Have you
Chris and Julie Albert, pizza owner and donut lady.
spoken to them about these events between then and now?
About this case? Is that what you're asking?
Yes, Ms. McCabe, I'm asking about this case.
Of course I speak to them all the time about the vicious harassment we are all receiving.
Okay, but that wasn't my question. My question was, did you talk to them about this case, Ms. McCabe?
That's a good way for her to get it in, but then the jury could be like, wait a second, why are you guys getting vicious harassment? I wonder how many people think that you guys are involved.
Yes.
I realize you want to give additional answers in the editorial. I'm asking you very specific questions.
Objection.
Okay, so objection as to the form. We've talked about this at sidebar, Mr. Jackson.
You talked to them about the details of that night, correct? The 28th going into the morning of the 29th?
Yes.
You talked to them about what happened at the bar, correct?
We've spoke about how we were all at the bar and Karen and John came in.
Is that yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. You've spoken to them about your memory of what happened at the house at 34 Fairview that night, correct?
Yes.
You've spoken to them about who was at the bar, not just what happened, but who was there, correct?
Correct.
You talked to them about the timing of the night, correct?
I don't think specifically, no.
I guess we'll transition over to you guys were trying to get all your stories straight, correct?
When people came to the bar, when they left, when people got to Fairview, when they left Fairview, things of that nature.
Well, they were at the bar, so they know who was there and when they left.
And ask if you know, but they know. I'm asking if you've ever spoken to them about these issues. Yes or no?
I can't be sure if we've spoken about the timeline.
And you've talked to them about when they got there and when they left.
I have no idea when they arrived at the waterfall.
Once again, Ms. McCabe, that's
Talk
not what my
about it.
question was. Do you understand my question? Have you spoken to them about their memory of that night and when they came and left?
They have not shared with me when they got there or when they
morning.
left.
In the 2 years or 2.5 years since this event, you've had extensive conversations with friends and family about this circumstance, correct?
Correct. Yes.
You've told them your observations of your story, correct?
Correct.
Your observations of the night.
Correct.
And they've told you their observations of the night, correct?
Correct.
So y'all have compared and contrasted your perspectives of what happened that night, correct?
We've tried to figure out what happened to John, our friend.
And you've talked to them extensively about your observations and what your story or your version is. Is that right?
To be honest, not extensively. Speaking about it is very painful and difficult.
What does extensively mean? More than twice?
Well, you tell me.
I'm asking the questions, Ms. McCabe. That's how this works.
I remember there was a witness that said that, who was the witness again that said they didn't really talk about it? It's like, no, you definitely talked about it. And it doesn't have to be, because maybe they're afraid to admit, I mean, she's admitting to talking about it, but maybe the other witness was afraid of admitting about talking about it because they don't want to make it seem like, we're talking about it to get our story straight. It's like, no, it's like normal for, when something like this happens, everyone talks about it like, oh my God, like what happened? Compare stories, blah, blah, blah.
I understand, but extensively would mean almost every day.
Do you talk to them almost every day?
I do, but not about the case.
Subjects about this case come up every day?
The harassment of the case does, yes.
What about the specific facts of the case?
No, it's the facts aren't spoken as much as the vicious harassment is spoken about.
Understood. So you've told them your version of the events, correct? And they've told you their version of the events.
Correct.
And remind me, Chris and Julie Albert are, in fact, Colvin's parents.
Correct.
At some point,
He's reminding that not for her, but for the jury.
you became aware that your daughter, Allie, was involved in this matter to some extent, correct?
Yes.
You became aware that there was an extraction of your phone that revealed some data about her whereabouts.
The Life 360?
That's not how I became aware now.
Like 360?
Yes, I know what that is.
That's what I'm asking about. You became aware that you know your phone was extracted, correct?
I willingly handed over my phone.
Oh, we'll get to that.
Oh, okay.
You know that your phone was extracted.
Yes, I handed it over.
And you know that your daughter's whereabouts were revealed based on data on that phone, correct?
That is not how I became aware of my daughter's whereabouts.
You testified at the state grand jury, questioned by Mr. Lally, correct?
Yes.
You were
Okay.
asked about the Life 360.
Yes.
You answered those questions very fluidly.
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
I know what Life 360 is. I use it all the time. It's an app, etc.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's go over that for a 2nd You admitted that it works as a, quote, GPS as far as where people go and everywhere that you go, correct?
Correct.
You indicated that it works as a reliable, quote, unquote, tracking device, is your testimony.
Correct.
You indicated that you rely on it, quote, so you know where your kids are at all times. Is that right?
Correct.
And you even said that it's a, quote, unquote, good parenting tool. Is that right?
Correct.
And the reason you said that is because it's accurate in your experience and it's reliable. Is that right?
It's a good tool, but it is not always accurate.
But you said, when you testified in front of the great grand jury, that it's accurate and it works as a GPS as far as where you go and everywhere you go.
Because sometimes if you have like bad data, sometimes it lags a little bit. So it's not like completely accurate. Or sometimes like if you're say you're like it says you're at home, right? It might say you're on like the street or the driveway that's like right in front or something like that when you're really like inside your house. So like I can imagine not being like pinpoint accurate, but you know, it gets like the general gist done. But sometimes it is delayed,
Correct?
Objection.
I'm sure.
Did you say that?
If it's like fine friends.
Can I see it?
Sure. Virtually?
13
How many-
through 15? Okay. It does, yes.
Question and answer.
Well, I just don't see the word accurate on there. I don't know if I missed it.
Ms. McCabe, does that refresh your recollection as to the question and answer about whether you said it works as sort of a GPS as far as where you go and everywhere that you go?
Correct.
And your answer was, yeah. Correct?
Yes.
Okay.
But not the word accurate.
So where,
Oh, sorry.
after she supposedly dropped off Colin Albert,
She went nowhere.
That's her daughter.
did you check her Life 360 app to verify that she went, quote, nowhere?
At that point, I had no reason to check her.
So the answer is no, you didn't.
No.
Okay. Did you ever verify through the Life 360 app that in fact Allie did not go home, but rather was out driving until after 1:30 a.m.?
Hey, Kendrick.
You ever check the app and see that?
Did I ever check Life 360 app for that?
Yep.
No.
Okay. But you believed her when she said she came home.
Yes.
And just like you believed her when she said she picked up Colin, dropped him off, and then came home.
Yes.
Okay. The Alberts had a dog, pardon me, correct?
Yes.
What's the dog's name?
Chloe.
You indicated that on the morning of January 29th, after 6 a.m., it was still relatively dark out, you burst into the bedroom of Brian and Nicole Albert's home, correct?
Yes.
And
You
Chloe
did
sleeps
that
with them.
specifically to wake up, according to you, Brian Albert and Nicole Albert, correct?
Yes.
Where was Chloe?
I don't know.
So you'll agree that, at least from their perspective, you walked in the front door unexpectedly, correct?
Yes.
You walked upstairs unexpectedly, correct?
Yes.
Still dark outside, right?
Yes.
You walked through their door, and you said you burst into the door into a dark room where they were sleeping, correct?
Yes.
Mr. Albert said that you were somewhat hysterical. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
You were loud, right?
I was trying to wake them up.
You were somewhat chaotic.
Yes.
And you don't remember a 70-pound German Shepherd having any reaction.
Hey, Ken Meister.
No.
Matter of fact, you don't remember the dog being there at all, correct?
Correct.
You never saw that dog, correct?
I have no memory of seeing that dog.
Okay, so as you sit here today, you cannot say that the dog was here because you don't have a memory of ever seeing it.
I did not see it, no.
And remind me once again, when you were leaving that night, that early morning before, who was the last person to leave? It was Caitlin?
I mean, it's possible in a moment like that when you just found out like your friend died, remembering the dog or noticing the dog might be the last thing on your mind. There were people that came over to the Albert family home that did say that Chloe wasn't really, like, she wasn't a barker. She wasn't barking when there was, like, guests downstairs or anything like that. I wonder if Chloe's just, like, sleeping in the closet, or if she doesn't remember that Chloe was there, or if Chloe was elsewhere.
I believe she left after us.
Caitlin, right?
we've talked about this, and I want to get into a little bit more detail about it. You indicated that at some point you looked outside and you saw Karen Reed's SUV in front of the house. Safe to say, correct?
Banks are driving me nuts.
About what time was that you first saw it?
I can just give you maybe approximates. I know I texted when I saw them, so whatever time that was.
All right, let's see if we can narrow that down just a little bit. You also indicated that you saw Ryan Nagel's vehicle outside.
Saw lights.
Okay. Lights belonging to the vehicle, right?
Yes, I knew there was another vehicle outside.
And where was that in relation to Miss Reed's vehicle?
It was behind it. I didn't pay much attention to it.
Okay. And where was the Jeep in relation to Ryan Nagel's vehicle and Karen Reed's SUV?
I remember seeing Karen Reed's SUV straight, and then I saw the lights of Ryan Nagel. I did not pay attention to where it was. I was just looking at Miss Reed's vehicle.
Was Ryan Nagel's vehicle and those lights that you remember, were they in front of the Jeep or behind the Jeep?
I am not certain.
Haven't you testified previously that you remember the Jeep being between Ryan Nagel's vehicle and the SUV?
I am not certain where Ryan Nagel's vehicle was.
So as you sit here now, you don't know if it was in front of the Jeep as you placed it by the mailbox.
It would.
Because I think Julie doesn't remember the Jeep. I think Sarah said she. Actually, no, Sarah. No, I don't think Sarah ever went outside or looked outside the window, right? I think Julie doesn't remember the Jeep, and then her brother, Ryan Nagel, doesn't remember the Jeep, and then the two other passengers in the car didn't remember seeing a Jeep as well. But again, they were interviewed like 9 months later.
Behind the Jeep or somewhere in between?
It definitely was not in front of the Jeep.
Definitely was not in front of the Jeep.
No.
So it was definitely behind the Jeep.
Behind or to the side, I'm not sure.
Well, it was parked on the street in front of the house. It's not going to be the side.
Cheryl says hi.
That's going to be in the middle of the
It
road.
would have been in the middle of the road, correct. So if it's pulled over, it's behind the Jeep.
Okay, so now we've narrowed that down. It's Karen Reed's SUV as we're looking at the property. Karen Reed's SUV. To the right of that, as we're looking at from the street, at the property. To the right of that Jeep. Behind that, Ryan Nagel's vehicle. Correct?
Correct.
You sure about that?
If my memory serves right, yes.
If your memory serves. Okay. So you were asked about.
I mean, you had a 3-day weekend. I would go back and read all of my statements, my grand jury statements, my interviews, and everything.
The arrival of Mr. Nagel's car at the state grand jury. Do you recall that?
I believe so.
That was in April 26th, 2022. Just
Okay.
remember. Okay. Does that sound about right?
Yep.
I expect you to
Yes.
provide that date.
Yes.
You were asked what time did you see Ryan Nagel's vehicle arrive at the location, and you indicated that
It's possible that Chloe would have gone ballistic, but then also I remember the guest that came over did say that Chloe wasn't barking or anything when there were people over. Because I would imagine, there are some dogs that like bark, like Steve. Steve would bark a lot when there was like noise downstairs. Cheryl, for the other hand, like sometimes he barks, but sometimes he's just really chill. Yeah.
it was 12:23. Remember that?
Do you have it?
I do.
Are we refreshing your memory again? Okay.
Do we know what time the brother came, meaning Ryan Nagel?
Okay. Correct.
And the question from Mr. Lally was, that was from a grand jury, the question from Mr. Lally was, if you know.
Is it 12:30?
Correct.
And your answer was, I believe he was out front at 12:23. Is that right?
Correct.
And the reason you could be so precise
Why 12:23?
with that time, Ms. McCabe, is because you had asked Julie Nagel to give you her text messages with Ryan for that night, and you'd refresh your recollection about the time, correct?
Correct.
All right.
Okay.
And you've also testified that as soon as you saw Ms. Reed's SUV, you texted John. Is that right?
Correct.
Here, exclamation point, question mark.
Cheryl barks sometimes. Like if Dennis is coming in the house, Cheryl barks. If it's a stranger, sometimes he doesn't bark. It's like, I don't know. Sometimes he does, sometimes he doesn't.
That was the first text, right?
Correct.
But your text to John was at 12:27.
If there was a screaming lady, he would run away probably. If there was like a dog out front, he would probably bark and be like, hey, what are you doing? Or like the chickens, if they come by, he'll bark. But if it was a screaming lady, he'll probably run and be like, what the fuck is going on? Like our mailman, for example, he doesn't bark at the mailman. Doesn't care about mailman. He only barks at the mailman when all the other neighborhood dogs join in. Or when all the other neighborhood dogs bark, and then he likes to join in on that, just to be included.
You recall that?
Yes,
That's 4 minutes after you know Ryan Nagel arrived at the scene, correct?
correct.
Since Karen Reed arrived before Ryan Nagel, she and John had to have been there 4 to 5 minutes before you ever saw her in the SUV, correct?
Objection.
Isn't that right?
Ryan Nagel texted his sister at 12:20.
You think even the Alberts were not involved with John O'Keefe's death? They deliberately did everything to stay out of the limelight.
23 here. And then he texted again that he was going to leave. Then Julie Nagel went outside,
Mr.
and
McCabe, that's not my question.
I'm explaining what happened in the 4 minutes.
You can explain at another question. My question is very specific. Given the fact that Karen Reed, by definition, arrived at the location before Ryan Nagel, and Ryan Nagel arrived at 12:23, that means, and you didn't notice the SUV until 12:27, that means her car was there for at least 4 minutes before you ever noticed it, correct?
Objection.
Is that correct? Can you answer that question?
Correct.
Because remember, when Julie Nagel said she came out to go see her brother, she said the black SUV was already gone by that point. That's what she thought. But everyone else saw the black SUV out there. How does she know when he texted people? She asked Julie Nagel for screenshots of the text messages.
The snow condition. We've heard a lot about the snow condition. I'm not going to beat that dead horse. But it's safe to
He knows how people feel about the snow condition. Oh, that was a stab at Mr. Lolly.
say that you would agree with me that it was a light dusting of snow, correct? I should be specific about the time. It was a light dusting of snow at or around 12 to 12:30, 12:45, something like that.
It was starting to accumulate.
Okay. And accumulate means stick to the ground, not just fall and melt, right?
Yes,
So it was starting to turn like a very thin blanket of white.
yes.
That's what other people said. Yep.
You indicate that, or you indicated on Friday that you saw some sort of tire tracks. Is that right?
On Friday? I don't believe,
I thought in your testimony to Mr. Liley on Friday, you indicated that you saw some tire tracks. I could be wrong.
yes, I don't remember that.
Okay, well, let me ask you, did you see any tire tracks?
At one point, yes.
Okay, when was that point?
I'm not sure.
Was it before Ms. Reed's vehicle got there? Was it after? Let's use that as a barometer first.
I believe it was after Miss Reed's vehicle was there, because that's why I was drawn to look outside.
And what did those tire tracks look like? How would you describe them?
Almost like as a wave went like this. So
Why would it be like a wave like that? Because I remember her husband said the same thing. It looked like it was like a wave. But Mr. Giannetti was like, does it look like it was a 3-point turn? He's like, I don't know what tire tracks look like in 3-point turn. But a wave, why a wave?
Like a half J?
to my recollection, it was almost like it started, if Miss Reed's vehicle's here, let's pretend, it was kind of like that.
Just
Like a bit of a wave. So if you started on coming towards her, it'd be more of a wave.
Okay.
Like this in the road.
What it sounds like is, perhaps, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but perhaps what you're describing is tracks in the middle of the road. If someone is pulling off parallel, they would pull to the right and then stop. And those are the tracks that you saw. That's the wave that you saw.
It wasn't up to her car. It doesn't look like your description.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. I'm just trying here. So if it didn't go up to her car. Those tracks.
Maybe the car slid in the snow. I mean, it's neighborhood, driving, speed limits. Snow is just like coming down, starting to accumulate. She does have like a large SUV. I don't know.
belong to somebody else.
But when I saw her car, it had already moved up.
Well, wait a minute. You already said that when you saw her car, it was directly in front of you.
And then it moved at one point.
Right? That's what I'm asking about. Let's just take the point at which you first saw the car.
Mhm.
Is that yes?
Yes.
Okay. When you first saw the car, that's when you saw the tire tracks. You just said that.
No, I did not say when I first saw the car, I saw the tire tracks.
I thought you just said a couple of questions ago that you saw the tire tracks because your attention was drawn to her car. That would be the first time you saw her car. Right?
I'm saying I saw the tire tracks because I was looking out at her car. I never said when I saw the tire tracks or where her car was when I saw the tire tracks.
Well, I thought you just said, because I asked, when did you see the tire tracks? You said, I saw the tire tracks when I looked and saw her car because my attention was drawn to her car. I saw the tire tracks. That would be the first time you looked at her car, correct?
doesn't have to be the first time I looked at her car. I looked out multiple times.
Did you see the tire tracks the second time?
So the tire track could have shown up later on.
Well, I'm not exactly sure.
Did you see it the third time?
Again, I'm not sure.
Okay, so it could have been the first time.
Could have been.
But they didn't lead to the back tires of her car, did they?
No.
On the 29th, you also gave extensive testimony on April 26th, 2022, in front of a state court grand jury, correct?
Correct.
And you were asked about the location of Ms. Reed's vehicle. I'm still staying with that for just a quick second, if you don't mind. Is that right?
Correct.
You were asked where that SUV was in relation to Ryan Nagel's car. Is that right?
Would I be able to look at it to refresh my memory, please?
Well, let's start with this. Do you remember being asked about Karen Reed's SUV and Ryan Nagel's truck?
To be honest, I've had a few grand juries, so if you could show me what your...
I don't think she tied the tire tracks to Karen Reed's car. I think she just said she saw the tire tracks. And the reason why she noticed the tire tracks is because she purposely looked out to see if, I guess, their car was outside.
talking about, I would greatly appreciate it.
But yeah, I mean, the tire tracks, I don't know. Like, are they trying to say there were tire tracks in a wavy motion because that was when John O'Keefe was hit afterwards?
Okay.
We scan those pretty quickly. My question is a relatively simple one. Which one of you have
Hi,
comments?
Aaron.
At no point, when you were describing the vehicles that were out front, in front of 34th Fairview on that night, at no point, under oath, in front of that grand jury, did you ever mention a Jeep? Did you?
I was not asked about any other vehicles out front.
So when you were talking about the vehicles that you saw in front in some painstaking detail, talking about the black SUV and Ryan Nagel's truck, you just left out the Jeep because nobody asked you about it.
I didn't read anything in that about Ryan Nagel's Jeep vehicle.
Did you miss it?
I must have.
Okay.
Is it in there?
Yeah, it is.
Okay, what?
Back review, I will give you something ever.
I'm not sure. I'd have to read it all. I was asked about Miss Reed's vehicle, and those are the questions I answered.
I can't, you need to keep your
Okay,
voice up, please.
sorry.
Let's try this again. As you sit here, do you recall mentioning the Jeep?
No.
I would have to reread the transcript.
You don't have to reread the transcript to answer that question. Do you recall mentioning the Jeep? If you don't, you don't.
I may not have been asked about the Jeep, so I did not mention the Jeep.
Fair enough. Did you, Mr. Higgins, between then and now, between the date of the incident and now, have you ever had a conversation with Mr. Higgins about where his Jeep was parked?
Hey,
No.
Martin.
Have you ever had a conversation with Mr. Higgins about anything having to do with this case?
I do not believe so.
Did anyone,
Hi, Heather. How are you doing today? Okay, so two things that we're focusing on so far. Brian Higgins' Jeep. Do we remember it? Do we not remember it? And then also her going up to Karen and trying to separate Karen from John.
leaving Mr. Higgins aside, did anyone tell you anything about Mr. Higgins' Jeep and what he testified to?
No.
Were you ever asked by anybody?
Is the defense trying to claim that they're trying to hide that Mr. Higgins was there, or?
To mention a Jeep being behind Ms. Reed's SUV in this trial?
Can you repeat the question, please?
You ever asked by anybody to make sure you mention a Jeep being parked behind Ms. Reed's SUV in this trial?
Not that I recall, no.
He let her refresh
After you
her
arrived
memory a couple
and you
times.
noticed this SUV outside, you started paying somewhat close attention to it, did you not?
I went to the front door and looked out the window at the vehicle, yes.
As a matter of fact, you texted as soon as you saw the vehicle, that 12:27 here, correct?
Correct.
And then a few minutes later, at 12:31, you texted, "Pull behind me," to John. Is that right?
Correct.
And then at 12:40, you texted, "Hello," correct?
Correct.
And at 12:42, you texted, "Where are you?"
Correct.
And at 12:45, you texted, "Hello," correct?
Correct.
So that's 5 text messages. And each time you texted him, you were walking to the door and looking out at the vehicle as you're texting, correct?
I know for the first 2 I was. Correct.
Another proceeding on June 8th, 2023, correct?
Correct.
Is that the federal
In that
one?
other proceeding, did you testify that you got up and sat down and got up and sat down every time you were texting?
Possibly.
Okay. So if you got up and walked over to the door and you see the SUV and you text, and then you walk away from the door and sit down for a second, that would be one text and one view of the SUV, correct?
Yes.
So if you did that at 12:27, 12:31, 12:40, 12:42, and 12:45, you'd agree that's 5 times that you were up and down looking at the SUV, correct?
I'm not sure if I did it 5 times.
How many times do you think you did do it?
I know I definitely did it the first when I said here. I know I definitely did it when I said pull behind me, because that's when the vehicle had moved up a little bit.
And then did you see the vehicle move up again? A second time?
Yes, that's when I told him to pull behind me.
Okay, so that's the first time. So just so we're clear, when you first saw the SUV, it was stationary, correct?
When I first saw the vehicle, it was straight ahead, out the front door, stationary.
And you texted here.
Correct.
Then you walked back over to the window, or, I'm sorry, to the door, to the storm door, and you said, pull behind me, correct, at 12:31.
Correct.
All right, at that point, you saw that it had moved up a little bit, is that right?
Yes.
Okay, so if you saw it move up a second time, which you just said you did, then that would be a third time that you had to have seen it and texted, correct?
Why would that be third time?
Because it only moved once so far, you saw it move twice.
So the first time I saw it, it was here, and I said here, and then the next time I texted, I said, pull behind me. So that was 1 time, 2 times.
Keep going. You said you saw it pull up again, a second time. So you saw it move twice.
From one place to the flagpole to further up.
Right, so that's 3 times that you're up to the door.
Okay.
Is that yes?
I'm telling you, my memory is twice to the door.
Mr. Cave, it's not a trick question. You just testified that you saw the car move twice. By definition, that has to be, you looked at it 3 times. Stationary, move once, move twice.
Maybe I used the wrong wording.
Maybe.
Sounded ominous.
Let me have just a moment, Your Honor.
Sure.
Because I'm trying to put myself in her shoes, right? That night, if I was inviting a friend to go over to my other friend's house, they've never been there before, right? I gave them the address. I would probably come out if they were like, I don't know where the house is. I can't find it. I don't know where it is. I probably would come out. If I knew they were already outside and I saw them outside, I probably would just be like, okay, like, are you coming in? Hello? What's going on? I don't know if I would go outside afterwards. Maybe. It depends. If it was a couple that I thought that they could be fighting, I probably wouldn't go outside. I don't know. It would also be cold, snowy. I don't know if I would go outside at that point. It really depends. Because if I was just texting them and then they don't respond, I'm just like, okay, well, I guess they don't want to come in. I guess not.
Back down.
Oh, sorry. Mr. Jackson, go ahead. And we'll skip you
Did you
there.
testify that you walked up and sat back down 5 different times, watching that car and texting every single time?
Would you be able to show me that?
It's going to take a minute.
Oh, boy.
Those 70.
Okay, he's got to refresh her recollection. She's reading it. Then he has to ask her, does that refresh her memory?
Those few pages from your testimony in June of 2023.
Yes.
Did you talk about, you were asked about getting up and sitting down and looking at the SUV several different times and texting?
Yes.
In fact, you indicated that you got up and looked outside through that storm door several times, correct?
Yes.
And as a matter of fact, you looked every single time that you texted, you indicated that you looked out at the SUV and saw something that prompted you to text something, correct?
Correct.
To
And
move
then
behind
after
the
the
car?
last time, which would be 5 times, 5 texts, 5 looks, after the last time you texted, you got back up, which would be a 6th time, and the SUV was gone. Just chronologically.
Correct. My husband and I were both getting up and looking, so
I didn't ask you about your husband.
Okay.
Just about you.
Oh, so she did look at some point and the SUV was gone?
That's correct.
yes.
Okay. So you're indicating that you were trying to communicate with the occupant of the SUV that was sitting, what would you say, 30 feet outside the front door?
I'm not good with distance.
It's further than you and I are from each other, correct?
Correct.
At least double that, right?
Correct.
Okay, so could you give me, maybe yards are easier, like
Yards? Ugh.
10 yards, 15 yards?
Again, I'm not good with measurements.
Okay. Just right outside the front door, though. Within,
Straight
Gotta
outside.
use basketball measurements. 3-pointer line or
Yes.
well, straight outside until it moved.
To the front door. Of the front door is where it was.
Ms. McCabe, straight outside until it moved, according to you, correct?
Yes, and then it moved. Correct.
And then moved the second time, correct?
Correct. It moved to the flagpole, and then it moved up again.
Okay. Then you indicated that you had an absolutely clear view of the SUV. You were asked those questions, correct?
If I had a clear view,
Clear view.
I could see the car out front. Yes.
You were asked, you were looking out the front door of the house. Your answer was, uh-huh. You were asked, and there's a window in that door, right? Answer, it was opened. Yeah. Question, so you had a clear view outside. Answer, a clear view outside. Yes. Remember that?
wait, the car window was open or the house window was open?
Yes.
Okay. And is that your memory? You had a clear view?
I had a clear view of Karen's vehicle outside. Correct.
And then you reiterated that with the following exchange. Question, was the amount of snow coming
Objection,
down
Your Honor.
sufficient?
So let's hear the question.
Was the amount of snow coming down sufficient to obstruct your view of the vehicle, or did you have a clear view of it? Answer, I had a good view of it. Objection.
The objection is as to the form of the question and the reading.
No, that's okay. I'm going to allow the question.
Was that your testimony?
Yes.
So not only did you have a clear view, you indicated in your words you had a good view of it, right?
Correct.
Then you noticed that the SUV was gone after the 12:45 text, right?
Correct.
So you're looking at that SUV over the course of between the beginning text and the end text. It's about 19 minutes, right? 12:27 or so to 12:45, 18, 19 minutes, something like that, correct?
Correct.
You maybe add a minute because you got back up and didn't text, the SUV was gone, right?
Correct.
So you would agree, we just do some basic math, you're looking at that SUV on average about every 3.5 minutes.
Wait, so if she noticed the SUV was gone, would have it been possible? Wouldn't it have been possible for her to hear the commotion outside if there was a commotion between John and Karen fighting? Unless they were fighting in the vehicle and then John gets out and then Karen hits him. Or unless they were fighting in the vehicle, but John didn't get out yet. Maybe Karen drove up even more and then John's like, let me out of the car. And then he walked maybe from like a neighbor's house over to the Albert's house. And then Karen would have ran over then. What the fuck? I don't know. Because I'm just trying to think, like, let's say John was hit before Karen left. Would they not have heard anything? Would John have not screamed? Maybe not.
I guess I'm. If you want to pull out the times, then you can look at them.
Well, we talked about the times, and you agreed that you were texting between 12:27 and 12:45,
Correct.
right? So if you were just to divide that by 5 times with nothing looking, I don't know, I can do the math in my head.
I guess we'll have to wait until Lolly brings up the expert witness to talk about the GPS and like what time it backed up at blah, 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 60 feet, all that stuff.
It's every 3 minutes or so.
Correct.
At no time did you hear any noise or sound outside that was unusual? Caught your
No.
attention? You didn't hear any squealing tires or squealing of brakes?
No.
You didn't hear any screaming or yelling?
Yeah, impact.
You didn't hear any loud voices or foul language or doors slam?
No.
You didn't hear any verbal argument or like revving of an engine, anything like that?
No.
I don't know if she's going to mention it, but her husband was talking about how there was music playing in the house. Maybe you couldn't hear because of the music, but I'll let her say it if that's true.
Matter of fact, you didn't hear any collision or crash, did you?
No.
Matter of fact, the entire time that you looked out at that vehicle with that clear and that good view, you didn't see anything out of the ordinary, did you?
No.
And you would agree with me, as you looked at the SUV, you're looking over the lawn to the SUV out of the street, correct?
Correct.
There was no.
Yeah, I mean, I could totally see that too, right? Maybe they're fighting. He gets out of the car or jumps out of the car, started walking away. She's like, hell no, slammed in reverse, actually hit him. Yeah, maybe, right? I don't know. Maybe that was after the 12:45 time. But you see, we don't have, oh man, we don't have surveillance footage, ring cameras, nothing. Aside from Jen McCabe and Carrie Roberts testifying, the other expert witnesses that we had to look forward to would be pathologists, and then the person that looks at the vehicle information, right?
Obstruction between you and the SUV. You've already testified to that. Is that right?
Correct.
And you can see everything in your field of view.
Correct.
And then you saw the SUV gone. It had driven away after 12:45.
I don't know. I got mixed. I'm waiting to hear for the state or defense to reiterate about the shoes thing. I I remember hearing that the one shoe was missing, but then some people in my chat were saying that they ended up recovering the second shoe. I don't know. I'm just gonna go by what the court stuff says, I guess. But I haven't heard about that again.
Correct.
Probably the pathologist when they testify.
So I have
Maybe
a
we'll hear
question,
about that.
Mr. Babe.
Mm-hmm.
Where was the body?
I have no idea.
Where was the what?
Where was the body?
I have no idea. I'm assuming the body was on the front lawn.
Oh, where was the body?
The problem with that is you were looking at the front lawn, weren't you?
I was looking at the vehicle and where it had moved.
You know what field of view is?
The freaking neighbor though kills me. I can't believe that his ring didn't catch anything. It was like straight at where this would have happened. It depends on how your ring camera is set. I don't think ring cameras generally are recorded all the time. I think that the recording usually starts when you either have someone ring the doorbell or you have someone that's like within distance, and then it like triggers the sensors to go on. So for example, like I have a ring thing, right? I think it's a ring brand. I think it's the same brand. If someone pulls up like across the street, I don't think it's going to capture anything. It's not until they get into like a couple steps on my doorstep does the ring camera start recording. I think it's the same software. I have to double check that. But I would assume maybe that's what happened with the neighbors. Maybe it was too
Would you
far
like to
away for
explain
the
it?
ring camera to start recording.
You had a clear and good view across that lawn to the SUV, didn't you?
When it was straight out, I did, yes.
You had a clear and good view of that SUV the entire time until
Hey,
it left.
Moondog.
I could see the black SUV, correct.
Nothing was obstructing your vision.
I wasn't looking at the ground.
I didn't ask you about the ground yet. We'll get to the ground. Nothing was obstructing your vision, was it?
No.
So you had a clear and good, your words, not mine, a clear and good view of the SUV
Yes.
and everything in front of it.
I never said everything in front of it. I saw the SUV. It's black. It has lights on. And as it moved, I could see it with its lights.
You had a clear view of everything.
I remember learning the shoe thing from the case of the boy who was killed in South Carolina that people said was related to Buster Murdoch. Oh, Stephen Smith. Yeah. That case. And then there's another hit and run case that that I looked at where the person that was hit, the shoe also popped off as well. But I do wonder, Lolly said Karen backed up her car at how many miles per hour? Was it like 26 miles per hour? I don't know. I don't know if that's fast enough for a shoe to pop off. Possibly. I do not know.
Between you and the SUV. All the things closer to you and the SUV.
I wouldn't say that.
So your view was obstructed on what was between you and the SUV, but not obstructed on the SUV?
That's not what I was saying.
No, of course not. Because if you had a clear field of view to the SUV, you could see everything in front of it as well, meaning between you and the SUV as well.
If I'm looking straight out at an SUV, I'm not.
Well, I think the lawyer introduced the body, and then she kind of went with that term, the body. Because the lawyer was like, did you see a body? Or did you see the body? And then she responded and said, referred to it as the body afterwards.
Looking down at the ground.
Let me ask you a question about that. You're focusing right now on my face
Yes.
as you're answering these questions.
Mm-hmm.
You think you'd see, I don't know, an alligator sitting in front of me if it was there?
Objection, Your Honor.
You think you would see something? Can you clearly see that there's
This ain't Florida.
nothing between you and me except the podium?
Yes. Well, there's a table.
And you don't have to look down to see that, right?
Correct.
You're looking directly in my face, but you can see things that are between you and me because you have a field of vision, right?
Objection.
They record movement, but you said how far or close to movement has to be activated. Mine has to be set to no record because it will eat the battery, right? Some people have it like battery power. Some people have it hardwired. I think ours is hardwired now. But then also it's like depends on how much data storage you wanted to use. If you have your own like server or if you're using like the cloud data.
I'm going to see counsel at sidebar for just a minute.
See the SUV and everything between you and the SUV, correct?
When I looked out the front window, I could see the SUV clearly, like I'm looking at you right now, and it was further away than you are.
And you did it not once, not twice, not 3 times.
5 times?
You did it 5 times and then a 6th after it was gone, correct?
Correct.
And after that SUV was gone, and you looked out that window with that clear and good view, there was no body, was there?
I never saw a body.
Thank you.
I wish I had.
Sounds like that's a little rehearsed.
Not at all. It's not at all.
I'll let the answer stand.
He's bringing up the rehearse thing because she's not the only person that said, "I wish I had." There were times where other people were like, sorry, when they're being questioned, it was like, "Oh, did you see anyone out there? Did you see John's body? Did you see a body?" And they're like, "I did not see him. I didn't see a body, but I wish I had." Or, "Did John ever come in? He never came in, but I wish he had." So it's like similar. I think that's why he's trying to like be like, "Oh, you guys are like coordinating this, isn't you?" I don't know if I was a jury though. I don't know if that's something I would have caught. I've heard this. I heard testimonies like multiple times already, so that's why I caught it. But if I was a jury, I don't know if I would have caught that.
You left the location about 1:45. Is that right?
Yes.
You didn't see anything out
Jackson
of
was
the
formerly a
ordinary as you
prosecutor.
Got in. Was it your car or Mr. McCabe's car?
It was my car.
When you got in that SUV of yours, you didn't see anything out of the ordinary outside, correct?
I wasn't looking outside.
Okay. I know that that is the answer that you want to give to every question. My question is yes or no. Did you see anything out of the ordinary?
No.
Thank you. You didn't see anything out of the ordinary when you got in the vehicle?
No.
You didn't see anything out of the ordinary when the vehicle backed up?
No.
When that vehicle turned to the, I guess it would be to the right, to leave toward Chapman, and the headlights illuminated the area in front of you? Didn't see anything out of the ordinary then?
I wasn't looking out the front window.
Again, there's that question. There's that answer. My question is, did you see anything out of the ordinary?
Well, you were asking about the headlights out the front. That's why.
Karen looked concerned during the witness testimony. Karen looked pretty groovy today. I'm talking about her outfit. I don't know. She was wearing this like printed top. It looks very 70s groovy.
I said I didn't see anything out there front.
Oh, you didn't see the headlights turned on?
I was turned to the back.
Right. Did you see that the headlights came on in the car?
Yes, in the driveway, the headlights came on.
Right. And you're seated in the front passenger seat, correct?
Correct.
So according to you, you got in the car and immediately twisted yourself, looking directly to the rear, and never turned back around and never looked outside the windows.
Correct.
Got it. Is that normal for you?
Yeah, I'm a very chatty person, so I turned to talk to the girls.
So you made sure that you did look out the window.
Nope, that's not it at all.
You also didn't hear anybody. You did hear some of the girls in the back, since they were so chatty, talking about bread and sandwiches or something, right?
Correct.
Since you're so chatty. Why throw that at her?
But you never heard anybody say anything about noticing anything out of the ordinary, correct?
Correct.
You didn't hear Julie Nagel say that she saw a black object in the yard.
Never heard that.
But you were turned around looking right at, according to you, correct?
Correct.
Indeed, engaging them in conversation, according to you,
Correct.
so that you could make sure that you weren't looking out the front or right windows.
Objection.
Can you answer that? Is that
Oh, is that what the defense is trying to say? Because I guess the other theory is that not everyone who was partying at the house that night, maybe some of them didn't know that John did come in and that maybe he went straight to the basement and that's where it all happened. And then maybe some of them didn't hear it because the music was blasting. And so she was trying to keep them busy by chatting with them and turning towards them. I don't know. That's a lot. That's a lot of variables.
that why you did it?
No, that's not why I did it. I was talking to the two girls.
When you got home, what did you do?
I went up to bed.
What time do you think you got home?
Somewhere after approximately, between 2 and 2:15.
Took you a few minutes to drop the girls off?
Correct.
When you got home, you got on your phone, correct?
Yes.
Do we get to see the internet search stuff? Is that where we get to see it?
Before you got on your phone, you went upstairs to your bedroom.
Yes.
Did you use any applications? Well, let me ask it this way first. Did you make any phone calls just using your phone? Any phone calls after you got home, either downstairs or upstairs?
I do not believe so.
Did you use any applications to communicate with anybody through Wi-Fi? Do you know what I mean by that? Like FaceTime audio or WhatsApp phone calls, things like that.
Text
Those not
message?
tracking a phone
No,
call?
actually, and you may not use these, but I'm asking, did you use any kind of third-party app that uses Wi-Fi, VoIP calls, other than just a phone call?
No.
Okay. Sounds like you don't even know what that is.
I don't even know what you're talking about.
Fair enough. So it's safe to say.
It's like when you make calls on Facebook, WhatsApp, whatever, and then that will be logged on your call records, like with your phone bill and stuff like that. So you're using your Wi-Fi data, whatever, to make those calls.
that you didn't use or you don't use any multimedia to communicate. You don't use FaceTime or Snapchat or Signal or anything like that.
I've used FaceTime with my children, yes.
Not for phone calls.
No.
Like FaceTime audio is a way that you can make a call. No,
I FaceTimed with my kids at school, but,
that's videos. Right?
oh, okay, so yeah, I guess not.
You didn't do that night either.
Not that I recall.
Did you? Now I'm going to get back to your question. Did you text anybody?
I did, yes.
Who did you text?
I texted my sisters, and I texted my husband and a friend in a group chat.
You texted your husband and a friend in a group chat? Yes?
Yes,
Your husband was home?
yes.
Do we have those text messages? I'm nosy. Show them to me.
I want to switch gears for a second. And ask you real quick about later that morning when you went to John O'Keefe's house. You mentioned on Friday that you went into his house and began to look around for him when you first got there with Carrie Roberts and my client Karen Reed, correct?
Yes,
You indicated that you looked in his bedroom and saw that the bed was made, correct?
yes,
You indicated that you looked around other parts of the house looking for him, searching for him, is that right?
yes,
You obviously saw the blankets and pillows on the couch downstairs in the living room, correct?
I peeked over at the couch.
And you're aware that Karen Reed stayed on the couch that night to wait for John to come home.
I'm not aware of that, no.
You testified on Friday that my client said at the scene, when you got back to the scene, 34 Fairview, just after 6 a.m., that she said, I hit him 3 times. She declared it, correct?
Correct.
Not once, not twice, 3 times. I hit him, I hit him, I hit him, correct?
Correct.
You have a very specific memory of that event, do you not?
I do.
Obviously, that's an incredibly impactful thing for you to remember. Is that right?
It was an impactful statement, yes.
And you remember it today as well as you remembered it the day she did it.
Yes.
Wait, why did we go straight to text messages? It's pretty big, right? Or like, sorry, not text message, but the search history and what she did that night.
In preparation, before I ask you about that specific document, did you review anything before you testified in preparation for your testimony today or Friday?
Yes,
Did you review your grand jury testimony?
I did, yes.
Understood. April 26th, 2022, is that right?
Correct.
April 26th?
You'll agree that your testimony in that case, in that hearing, rather, April of 2022, that was just a few months after the events in question, right?
Yes,
You were under oath at the time that you gave that testimony,
yes,
and you were subject to the penalty of perjury when you were answering those questions, correct?
yes.
Ms. McCabe, I'd like you to turn to the page, since you've reviewed this, turn to the page of that document where you ever said in your testimony that my client said, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him.
Was I asked what she said?
I just asked the questions.
Well, I'd like you to direct me where to look.
I want you to look at the entire grand jury testimony if you need to, and turn to the page where you ever said that my client said, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him.
I'm not sure if it's in this document, but I can tell you today with 100% clarity, she said, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him on that morning.
I'm surprised Jackson didn't cut her off for that.
It's not in that document, is it?
I'm not sure if I could take the time, and do you want me to read?
No, please don't. How many pages is that? That looks thick.
Over 200 pages?
May I approach?
Yes.
No, I don't want to take the time. Because you just indicated that you reviewed this document in anticipation of your testimony, right?
Correct.
Yeah, you should
We've
have.
gone over it recently,
A few weeks back.
so we don't need to read it. You know that you never testified to that in the grand jury in April of 2022, don't you?
I don't know that as a fact. I would have to reread 222 pages, or however long it is.
You think you might have missed it when you reviewed your testimony in anticipation for, I'm sorry, when you reviewed your transcript in anticipation for your testimony?
Objection.
Hello. I read it a few weeks ago,
It's probably the most powerful part of your testimony, ma'am.
and I will never forget it.
Objection.
Okay, so that's stricken.
Would you
200 pages, bring it on. Nope. No, 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 no. It's weird that as a witness, she's so salty to it's so weird as a witness, she's so salty to the attorney. It's because like Karen Reed's attorneys have been in the press talking about this case and probably openly maybe saying that the Alberts and McCabe's had something to do with it. That's probably why she has a lot of like animosity towards him. But I feel like when you're testifying, you have to be careful how that translate to the jury, because the jury might not have that background knowledge, right? I think you have to be careful to not be like super defensive, because if you're super defensive, it could look like you're lying. It could be that like, oh, maybe you have something to hide, you know? But I get why people do get defensive when they're in the stand, because it's really hard to kind of keep your cool and your composure when you're being cross-examined by an attorney who's like kind of like, like right at you. So I just think that I think it's a good idea to be careful when you're being cross-examined. To just kind of keep your fucking cool. Otherwise, it might look bad to the jury.
Agree? Do you think that's a powerful part of your testimony?
Objection.
I'll allow that.
It is, yes.
Did you see it in the transcript?
I cannot recall. It's over 200 pages.
Yeah, approach on.
Yes.
So where do we go from here?
These are select pages.
Because we don't want her refreshing her memory with 200 pages. Where do we go from here?
92, 3, 201, 208, 9.
So, I mean, I guess, yeah, Jackson is trying to say that, like, hey, you did this grand jury testimony on April 26, 2022, and you never said that. I guess that's where he's leaning towards. But she's saying, no, I definitely did say it, but I don't know where it is in the transcript. It's 200 pages. You want me to go through all that?
It said, either at the scene or on the way to the scene.
No, she's saying that she does recall making that statement. She doesn't know where it is on the transcript, because whatever portion that he showed her, the I hit him is not in there. So he gave her like a portion, like, okay, look at the first 2 pages, right? Tell me where you see I hit him. And she's like, I don't see it here, but it doesn't mean I never said it. I definitely did say it at the grand jury, blah, blah, blah. That's what she's saying. And so she's like, well, I don't know where it is in the transcript. It's in there. But I don't know where does Jackson go from there? If she's saying that she did say it, but it's not in the portion that he showed it to her, does Mr. Lawley have to go and redirect and be like, okay, here it is. This is where you said it, right? I guess that's what happens. And then Jackson has to move on from this? I don't know.
At the scene, I was asked twice, according to this.
My question is it true that in April of 2022, you testified no fewer than 12 times, 12 separate statements you gave about what my client's statements were, either at the scene or in the car ride on the leading up to go into the scene? You remember that?
I do.
Okay, so on page 190 of what you're looking at, these should all be highlighted.
It is.
You testified.
Oh man, can I get these transcripts? Someone please get me. I'm pretty sure we can't have access to these, but can I get the fucking transcripts? Oh my God, I want to read these transcripts.
That my client said to you over the phone at 4:53 a.m., she asked the question, did I hit him? You see that?
I do.
Number 2, on page 192.
Right, because that's what's being contested right now. Is it, did Karen say I hit him, or did she say, did I hit him, I hit him? Or did she not say it at all?
Talking about when y'all were in the car on the way to the scene, Karen asked the question, could I have hit him? You see that?
Yes.
Page 193, lines 1 through 2. You testified that in the car, once again, she asked the question, could she have hit him? You were relaying that, meaning could I have hit him, correct?
Correct.
Page 193, line 23. In John's driveway, she asked the question, quote, and she's asking if she could have hit him.
Yes.
Page 201, driving to Fairview. She asked the question, what if I hit him? And could I have hit him? Correct?
Correct.
Page 202, lines 1 through 2. While driving to Fairview, she asked the question, could I have hit him?
Okay, so we'll remember this. We'll tap it for later, because Mr. Lawley is going to have to be the one that clears this up in redirect if there is a misunderstanding. Because when she testified on direct examination, she told everyone, Karen said, I hit him. And she repeated that. But now we're reading the grand jury statements that she made, and she's now saying, Karen said, could I hit him? Could she hit him? What if I hit him? Very different than I hit him, right? So I don't know. I'll give Mr. Lawley a chance to redirect this, of course.
Correct.
Page 208, lines 24 to 25, outside at Fairview, she asked the question, did I hit him? And went on to ask, could I have hit him? correct?
Correct.
And your testimony was also on page 208 that Karen was yelling nonstop in front of the female EMT. Did I hit him? Could I have hit him? Is he dead? Correct?
Correct.
May I approach?
Yes.
I wonder how many witnesses go up there and say, I did read my testimonies to refresh before this trial, yes. And then how many of them really did it and they just said they did? Or how many of them just skimmed over it and didn't look at it word for word? Or how many of them did look over it word for word but then just have bad memory?
That's 12 times that you reiterated under oath, under penalty of perjury, in April of 2022, what my client's statements were either at the scene or leading up to getting to the scene, correct?
Correct.
Every single one of those, 12 separate times, you indicated that she asked a question, something like, could I have hit him or did I hit him, correct?
Correct.
Not one time in that testimony did you say she declared, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him. Did you?
The questions that were asked, when she said, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him, that was at the scene in response to an officer asking questions. What I just read
But is that in the grand jury? I mean, we have to wait for Lolly to point that out. If Lolly doesn't point that out, that means Lolly ain't got nothing.
was us when she first called me, or when we were driving in the car, or when we were at John's house. So I was answering the question that I was asked.
So you believe that you weren't asked the question, did she say to an officer, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him? And if you're not asked the question, did she say to an officer, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him? You're not going to volunteer that she said, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him. That's your testimony.
No, that's not. My testimony is an officer was asking her what his name was and different things about him. And at that point, she was saying, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him.
Which officer?
I do not recall.
Well, you recall the I hit him. You just told me that was the most impactful thing in the morning.
It was shocking.
So what officer did she say this to, supposedly?
I was more focused on her and her hysteria than which officer was asking the question.
So you have no idea who the officer was even, correct?
I'm not sure which officer was asking her. It could have been an EMT. Someone said, what is his name? Does he have medical conditions? How old is he?
But you were asked that question, ma'am. On page 208, you were asked what she said in front of the female EMT who was asking her questions. And her answer was, I'm sorry, your answer was, she said, did I hit him? Could I have hit him? Is he dead? Is that right?
That is correct.
That
But
would have been a good time to offer up that she confessed, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him, right?
Objection.
Sustained as to that form.
Ms. McCabe, the truth of the matter is you've manufactured this new story for this jury because you think it helps you out.
absolutely not.
I mean, honestly, it just wouldn't make sense to do that because then when you're in cross-examination, you would get completely... Like, I'm sorry, he's going to tear you open a new asshole in front of the jury and in front of whoever's watching the live stream, right? So I don't know if she genuinely forgot or if the lawyer's misrepresenting it or if she was trying to lie and get away with it. Like, I don't know. I do not know. I'm just very confused how... I don't know. She said she reviewed the testimonies.
You called 911 at 6:04 a.m. Is that right?
Yes.
You want to make sure your story's straight when you're testifying.
Your Honor, with the court's permission, Exhibit 36 has already been marked
Forward exhibit.
for tape.
Yes, that's mine.
Appear to be a true and accurate, at least that portion, a true and accurate.
I think Jackson should have started off with this. I think maybe because the first two major lines of questioning didn't go his way, so it felt like we're kind of just like cliffhanging. But I think it would have been strong for him to start with this. Yeah. But it's possible that he had like something in his mind that he thought was going to work, but because she didn't answer the way that he wanted her to answer, it didn't necessarily go the way that he wanted to. That's possible too.
Accurate reporting of the 911 call that you made that
It
morning.
was a very brief clip. I'd have to hear more.
Let's go ahead and play starting at runtime.
How long you been outside?
I don't know. I don't know. He got out of the car and
Can't really hear it.
Was that you?
Yes, it was.
Is that the 911 call?
Yes, it was.
And what did you just say?
I said, I don't know. He got out of the car.
He got out of the car, is what you said, correct?
Yes.
Why didn't they arrest her that night if she was running around hysterical, yelling, I hit him? or taking into interrogation. Like, I get that she was being hysterical. She wasn't giving you the answer. She wasn't answering clearly. She was yelling, screaming things. I don't know why they wouldn't take her into custody and then interrogate her. I know at some point she did leave the scene with the other woman, Carrie Roberts, or Carrie, is it Carrie Roberts? I think that's her name. And the law enforcement told her to come back because they wanted to put her on a Section 12 hold and have her, you know, go to the hospital and get looked at.
And this was at 6:03 in the morning, correct?
Correct.
This is before you ever talked to Brian Albert,
Correct.
before you ever talked to your sister Nicole Albert,
Correct.
before you ever talked to Chris Albert,
Correct.
before you ever talked to Julie Albert.
Correct.
You haven't talked to anybody at this point other than Carrie Roberts, correct?
And Karen Reed.
And my client.
Correct.
And in that 911 call, you said he got out of the car. Didn't you?
I did, because Karen Reed had told me that she had left him there.
Your words were, he got out of the car, correct?
Correct.
Did you make
Oh, I couldn't hear what, I could not hear what it said. Okay.
any other calls other than to 911?
I called my sister.
What time was that?
I believe it was after the 911, but I'm not sure.
You claim that your sister didn't answer, is that right?
She did not answer.
But you do know that your phone interaction shows that that was an answered call at 6:07.
If that's what it shows, but I can tell you she did not answer the phone.
And you are sure about that, as you are, my client said, I hit him 3 times, right?
I certainly am, yes.
Perfect. You also called her at 6:08.
I might have called her twice, yes.
Your Honor, I have an exhibit. I don't mind. Digital recording of a 4-minute voicemail on John O'Keefe's phone. It does include the 911 call. I don't want to play the entirety of the 911 call, but I do want to play the.
Oh, I wish they would play the audio directly into the stream feed.
Oh, is there an agreement that it's coming in?
There's no objection to it.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
I just needed to know if it would make sense for me to review.
All right, the jury is out. I think they're taking a little
Hey
mini
there,
break.
Karen Reed trial watchers. This is a law and crime legal alert. Google Incognito tracked users' browser.
Wait, how long is his lunch break? How long is his break? Oh, gosh. All right, guys, I'm going to get up and use the bathroom really quick. Oh, boy. I mean, that could be huge right there. If the story evolved from her saying, Karen said, could I hit him? Could she have hit him? What if I hit him? And then maybe in their mind, they were convinced that it must have been Karen. And that's why her story changed from that to I hit him, I hit him, I hit him. Or it's possible that Jackson was being, it just wouldn't make sense for him to be disingenuous, though, and misrepresent her grand jury statement incorrectly, because Lolly would just come back in and be like, oh, this is what you said, right? It's right here in the transcript that Mr. Jackson didn't show you, right? I don't know. Okay, but that's one thing that I'm going to keep an eye out for in redirect. Hey, quick question. Do any of you guys have any experience with with doing your flooring? we're thinking of changing the flooring downstairs because it's like there's like air gaps when you step on it, and the color's really ugly. And then there's like water damage in the one of the other rooms. Do you guys have what kind of flooring do you guys have? Any recommendations or anything like that? Because now it's like I was trying to do a research. It's like there's vinyl, there's luxury vinyl plank, there's laminate, which is thicker, there's engineered hardwood, and then there's hardwood, which those two are probably way too expensive to even consider. But I don't know if you guys have any experience or any commentary on that. Let me know. You have vinyl flooring installed twice in the past 4 years? Wait, why twice? Or is it like from different areas of the house? Luxury vinyl. Karen could have believed that she hit him at the time and just told the AMTs she hit him to try to get him the help that he needed, but that doesn't make it true. Possibly. Okay. Defense should go after the prosecution, not frame a witness. Not legally changes for privacy reasons, name from a frontier shooter. Oh yeah, I heard about that months ago, about AH changing her name. That was like over a year ago, right? Isn't that like, people were saying that might have been a jab at Johnny Depp for some reason? I forgot what it was. Oh, you had a flood in 2022. Oh no. Laminate, yeah. I think we're leaning towards laminate. But I don't know what the pricing is gonna be. Because LVP, a lot of people do that because it's like cheaper, you know. But if you want something thicker, they say do laminate. But I'm just like, it depends on how much it is. Trying to cover a blood corgi? Nar. Is it a boss's thing to assume you run someone over and not get interrogated? Because I may move there. Hey, it depends on what kind of law enforcement you run into. I don't know. But what's odd is that if I remember correctly, and I might have to revisit this, but I could have sworn that there was a law enforcement person that testified saying they did hear Karen say, I hit him. But then I could have sworn in cross-examination, they were like, why didn't you include it in your report? And they were like, oh, I just didn't put it in my report, which is kind of weird because like, oh, why wouldn't you put something so important in your report? But I don't know if I remember that correctly. Yeah, wood prices are too damn high. Don't do laminate. Wait, why not? Lasts longer, physically feelable, wood structure printed on top, and then can be made oneself after a little research. And put a little insulation layer underneath. Downstairs is all hardwood in my house. I wish we could do hardwood or, you know, the other wood, but or the engineering wood. But yeah, it's just too expensive, and the insulation. We have concrete underneath. The medic. Was it the medic? I thought it was a medic and law enforcement. I know the medic, there's one. There's like, so not all the paramedics have to read a report. The only one that has to read a report is the lead paramedic. And I know they wrote a report, but I don't know if they mentioned the I hit him in that report. I don't remember. I have to go back to that. But I could have sworn it was law enforcement that didn't include it in their report. You can have your concrete painted. The house is, I don't know. I don't know if the concrete underneath, if it looks good or if it might be like shit. I don't know. The previous owner did a lot of weird stuff to this house. There's a lot of weird things going on. Oh boy. But anyways, okay, let me just go back to the trial. You did high quality laminate. How much was it per square foot? Oh, sorry. You guys don't do square feet in Europe.
So, Mr. Jackson, is it all queued up, or do we need we need the witness? But were there any questions first, or were you just going to the video?
Questions?
Okay. All right, let's bring Ms. McCabe in.
How old is the house? Couple decades old. 30, 40-ish. Not like old, like 30s and 1930s and 1940s or anything like that. But yeah, like 30 to 40 years old. But the person that lived here just did a lot of interesting.
Okay, whenever you're ready.
I think they did a lot of DIYs. Or what's funny is like when you move to a place and you start noticing like some random DIYs that they did, and you're just like, huh, that's interesting. Why did they do that? Oh, really? By the way, the audio is awful. Brace yourself, but I hear it at least sounds better. Oh, okay.
Mr. Jackson?
Yeah, I think they blast the audio in the courtroom, and then we pick up the audio from the courtroom. There's no like feed. Like we don't get the feed from the actual audio. Boo. Hi,
McCabe,
Annie.
I want to go back very briefly to something you said just before we broke, and that was in respect of the statements that you attribute to my client out at the scene. You said, well, there was an officer possibly asking questions, or it could have been a female EMT, and I wasn't answering questions about that, correct? Hence, you didn't say, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him.
Can you be clear on your question?
Let me rephrase that. Before we broke a few minutes ago, you had said, the reason I didn't say, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him, is because I was never asked. And the subject never came up about what an officer asked her when she declared that. So I just didn't offer it. And then you said, or it could have been an EMT.
Yes, I'm unclear who was there.
Isn't it true that at the grand jury, the question that was posed to you, and this is counsel page 208, grand jury, the question that was posed to you is, quote, so what happens next with yourself, Ms. Roberts, and Ms. Reed? And your answer was, so there are different, police officers getting statements from us. At one point, I'm standing with Ms. Reed, and she's saying, did I hit him? Could I have hit him? And there was, I believe, an EMT, a female, standing right next to me, listening to her yelling, did I hit him? Could I have hit him? Is he dead? Is he dead? Is he dead? Was pretty much nonstop. Remember that testimony?
I do.
So in point of fact, you were answering the direct question about what happened in front of the police officer and the EMT, correct?
There were multiple police officers and multiple EMTs present.
So now this is another police officer and a different EMT.
I'm not saying that.
Okay. But nowhere in this did you say that she declared the words, I hit him. Correct? We'll agree on that.
Correct.
Your Honor, I have an item I would like to have marked as next in order.
Thanks, guys.
May I approach?
Yes.
Did a lot of DIY stuff. Yeah, I mean, luckily, we haven't found anything weird with electrical. That always scares me. Some weird plumbing stuff, but nothing too crazy yet. But yeah, it's interesting. But here's the thing. I can totally understand why people do DIY stuff now, because it's so expensive to have someone to come over and do stuff for you. And then a lot of times they sell you on fear, okay? They're like, oh my God, if you don't do this, your house is gonna burn down. If you don't do this, your house is gonna catch on fire. If you don't do this, you're gonna have a water leak. If you don't do this, blah, 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 blah. They sell you on a fear, and then they try to get you to upgrade to like, I don't know, like replacing the whole thing instead of fixing something. I don't know, like we've had so many people come in, and now I know the strategy, the marketing strategy to get you to do stuff. Trying very hard not to fall for it.
Thank you.
Mr. Cape, I've paused the audio tape just to ask you a couple of foundational questions.
I'm just gonna hope Jackson is just gonna do a good job at just transcribing that for us, because I can't really hear anything.
Do you recognize what's on that audio tape?
Yes, that is my voice.
Okay. You recognize you starting a 911 call, correct?
Correct.
Similar to the call we just listened to a few minutes ago, which was the actual 911 call, correct?
What's the difference between the two of them?
I'm about to explain it. It's a confusing question, and I apologize. This appears to be an open voicemail overhearing your 911 call. Do you recognize that?
Now that you explain it, okay.
You hear a rhythmic boom, 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 boom.
The windshield wipers.
Okay. So that was my next question. That would have been an open voicemail that was recorded inside the cab of the SUV that you were seated in, correct?
Correct.
Overhearing you call 911 and overhearing whatever else was going on, ambient noise at the scene, correct?
Correct.
Does that sound like a true and correct copy of at least a portion of the 911 call that you heard?
Yeah.
Wait, whose voice message was that, and who were they getting a call from?
I have to listen to it again, but
Well, why don't we continue listening to it and see if you recognize it?
okay.
With your permission? Yes. It's about 4 minutes in total, Your Honor.
Okay.
Pause it. Do you hear a person in the background screaming?
Yes,
Who is that?
Miss Reed.
Oh, wait, wait.
Hi, Kiki. Hi, Doofus. It's a voice message that captured the 911 call. So I think someone's leaving a voice message, but maybe they forgot to hang up. And then in the surrounding area, someone's calling 911, and then there are people screaming. But I can't hear anything. Oh, I think I heard Jen. Jen. I wonder if the jury can make out what's the phone was left on Karen when Jen was trying to call 911. So who was Karen calling? Oh, it's John's voice message. Okay. Karen was calling him, dropped the phone in the backseat when she's... Gotcha. Oh, man. Can we please get a clear audio recording of this? Maybe one of the news networks will ask the court clerk to provide it to us or something. Yeah, because wouldn't the 911 operator, that recording, wouldn't that be more clearer to the jury?
Did you hear the audio recording that we just marked into evidence?
I did. It was very muffled, and some parts were very hard to understand.
Understood. The person on the phone, who was that person?
I called 911.
And the person that was, for the most part, the person's voice that you could hear screaming, sounding sort of hysterical, who was that?
Karen.
Could you also hear Carrie Roberts' voice at various times in the background?
Yes.
And she was, for lack of a better word, trying to calm Karen down?
Yes.
And at some point telling her to just shut up, you're not helping.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I was going to say, was she telling Karen to shut up?
Because she was so hysterical and so upset.
Erratic.
I want to play the rest of this. It appears that this recording is longer than your 911 call. You agree with that?
Well, I'd have to see.
Well, the 911 call's already ended, correct?
I'm not sure how long was the 911 call.
Okay, this is about 3.5 minutes into a 4-minute recording. My only question is, would you agree that the 911 call is subsumed within this full 4-minute recording?
I couldn't make that from that muffled.
You couldn't tell?
I couldn't tell. So if you have my phone record, you could, I'm assuming, tell when the 911 call ended, because I know the 911 call was long because there were multiple, they had transferred me multiple times.
Right. My question to you is, I'd like you to listen very, very closely, and I know that it is a muffled recording by definition. I'm not going to do that.
Oh, hey, lady.
From this point forward, I want you to pay very close attention. I want to ask you if you hear a voice, very muffled, what do you think of this recording? We can play it with your permission.
All right, I'm going to boost up the audio. Just letting you guys know, FYI, I'm going to boost up the audio and I'll put it back down. Okay?
Yes.
Did you hear a muffled voice in the foreground after you heard Ms. Reed scream or yell?
I heard two people talking.
Okay. And one of those was a very muffled voice on this recording, correct?
Most of the recording was muffled.
The one I'm talking about is I just played the voice that was muffled in the foreground of the audio recording.
Dude, I'm gonna get so many wrinkles from this stream. My face is like this the entire time. We're gonna get so many wrinkles from this.
For want of a better phrase.
Yes, I heard that, yes.
Was that you?
I don't know if that was me.
There was nobody else in the cab of the car with you, was there?
I was standing at the trunk of the car, outside of the car.
Kerry Roberts was over by Mr. O'Keefe,
Agree. Yes, they were kind of running back and forth at times.
and Karen was over by Mr. O'Keefe for most of that.
Yes,
But you were the one by the car.
back and forth.
Hi, Patty.
You called Nicole, your sister. By the way, have this ended? Did we finish playing this just for 15? Okay, thank you.
God, this sounds so ominous.
Okay, that appears to be the end of the tape.
Okay.
Okay. You called your sister at 6:07 and 42 seconds, correct?
I don't have my phone record in front of me,
Does that sound about right?
approximately.
And you made a second phone call at 6:08 and 17 seconds. Does that sound about right?
I did call her twice, yes.
And both of those calls show in your extraction that they were answered phone calls, right?
I don't have my extraction in front of me.
Well, you've been asked this question a bunch of times, right? You were asked this question at the other proceeding, is that right?
Yes,
You
and
were shown phone records.
if you have them, I could see them here.
You were shown phone records then.
Yes,
Okay. And at that time, you were confronted with the fact that the phone records show a 7-second call for 6:07. Correct?
Objection.
What's the meme?
I'm going to strike the word confronted. Go ahead and ask.
I'll pick another
Go
word.
ahead and ask the
You were
question.
shown evidence that the 6:07 call lasted 7 seconds.
my sister never answered the phone.
Okay. I know you want to answer your own questions.
Yeah.
I'd like you to answer my question. Were you shown records that showed the call lasted 7 seconds?
I cannot recall the exact record I was shown, but I was shown a phone record.
Okay. And you were shown that the same phone record showed that the 6:08 call lasted 8 seconds, right?
I don't recall the never answered the phone.
Okay.
Confronted. Go ahead and ask.
I'll pick another
Go
word.
ahead and
You
ask the
were
question.
shown evidence that the 6:07 call lasted 7 seconds?
My sister never answered the phone.
Okay. I know you want to.
I was shown a phone record.
Okay. And you were shown that the same phone record showed that the 6:08 call lasted 8 seconds, right?
Again, I don't have it in front of me.
I still have a lot of questions about these calls.
Does that sound about right?
About right, and there were a number of other
What? Batman slaps Robin? Is that a real thing or is it just a meme?
calls that showed answered that weren't answered.
Well, we'll get to those in a minute. So the two calls at 6:07 and 6:08, at least the records indicate about 15 seconds worth of open line time, talk time.
Wait. Was that in Batman Forever? Hold on a second. Is that the one with Batman Forever? He should let jury have a copy of her phone record. I'm sure they'll bring it up when the expert goes up there and testifies about these phone calls, records, text messages, screenshots, blah, 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 right?
7 seconds, 8 seconds, right?
You have the record in front of you. I don't.
I'm just asking if you were confronted, there's that word again, if you were shown records that established that based on your own phone extraction, your phone records, that the 6:07 call, 7-second call, the 6:08 call was an 8-second call, right?
I was shown records, but I don't know exactly what they were, how long the call said, because she never answered the phone regardless.
You also made another phone call at 6:23, did you not? To Brian Albert?
What?
Another.
Because she never answered the phone regardless.
You also made another phone call at 6:23, did you not?
623.
To Brian Albert?
Brian Albert.
If you could share my phone record, it would be very helpful.
Do you recall it?
I know I called my sister and I called my brother-in-law in the house. I do not know the exact times.
That's all this. You made a phone call to Brian Albert as well, right?
I believe so.
That was around 6:23. It was a few minutes after you had called Nicole twice, right?
Correct.
And that call was not answered.
None of them were answered.
But the record showed that that call was not answered, as opposed to Nicole's 2 calls, right?
Ah. Well, but what about voice message? Though? Remember we had a question about this? Like, what if it goes to voice message? Would it be considered that the call lasted? But then again, when you get voice message, would you really wait 7 to 8 seconds to hang up?
Right.
The calls to Nicole were deleted from your phone before you turned that phone into law enforcement, weren't they?
Not by me.
By somebody else?
I never deleted any calls when I willingly handed my phone over.
You claim that you didn't delete calls, but you do know that your phone was forensically analyzed, and those calls were in the deleted file folder, correct?
I have seen that, but there were 20 calls, all in a group that were all deleted. So cherry picking a few makes it look a different way.
Okay, so we'll get to those. I'm not cherry picking.
So the 607 and 608 call, they were deleted? But why would she delete them?
Okay, asking you questions about the records.
Which I would love a copy of if I could see.
We'll get to that in a second.
Dun, dun,
Just going by your memory.
dun.
You've seen these records a bunch of times. You've been
They're shown differently as voice message answered, etc. Can I just see what it looks like? I just want to see it for my eyes.
you've been questioned about these records a bunch of times, right?
Yes.
So we know that you called at 6:07, 6:08, or thereabouts, and about 6:23. 2 to Nicole, 1 to Brian, correct?
Yes.
Correct.
And you'll agree with me that notwithstanding those phone calls, by the way, did you leave voicemails?
No.
When did you hang up? Before it went to voicemail, or was it into voicemail before you hung up?
So it was a bit of a hysterical scene that morning, and I was in a state of shock, and I was just calling my sister and my brother-in-law. They did not answer the phone. I cannot tell you when I hung up because it was a hysterical scene. I was in a state of shock. Everyone was running around, and what seems to be forgotten is that my friend was lying there on the ground.
Oh, I don't think anybody's forgotten that. You, in fact, did not leave voicemails for any of those 3 calls, did you?
Again, I don't have my phone record in front of me.
That's when butt dials happened to me too. When either you just got off the phone with someone and then you put your phone away and it's not locked, or if your phone is, let's say you were browsing and doing something and then you put it away without locking it, it's possible you could butt dial. Sometimes I've like FaceTime someone before or butt dialed. That happens to me as well. And I get butt dial calls from my sister all the time. She's in the chat. But these aren't butt dials that we're talking about. We're talking about phone calls that were made, and on whatever phone call record that they have, it shows that the calls lasted 7 seconds and 8 seconds. So I have a lot of questions about that, I guess.
That's because Nicole didn't get any voicemails. The calls were answered, right?
The calls were not answered.
Do you agree with me that Brian and Nicole Albert?
Aaron says, I would probably be a horrible witness. I feel like if I didn't write it right away, it could be really hard to recall some stuff. I don't know. Especially when you're being cross-examined. I don't know. I feel like I might get confused on the stand or something.
Brian Albert being a police officer never came out of the house, right?
Correct. Neither did any neighbor.
I know you'd like to continue editorializing after the fact. It's probably a time and place for it. This isn't it. If you can answer my question,
Neither did any neighbor.
Wait, hold on.
never came out of the house, right?
Correct. Neither
Oh, no one ever came out of the house. Okay.
did any neighbor.
I know you'd like to continue editorializing after the fact. It's probably a time and place for it. This isn't it. If you can answer my question, I'd ask that you do that. Did Brian Albert come out of the house?
No.
Did Nicole Albert come out of the house?
No.
Thank you.
She should continue editorializing everything, though. I think it's better for the jury.
How many of the initial police officers from Canton Police
From her
Department who
perspective.
responded to the scene were you friends with?
I know, right? Lady says if I'm ever part of a murder investigation, I'm taking notes as soon as it happens, right? Now we know. Now we know. But then, can you imagine if you're? I don't know, because I always think to myself, okay, if anything ever happens, I'll make sure to have my camera and record it. That way, it's not like my word versus someone else's words, right? It's all there. But there are times where like things will happen, and I'm like, oh, oops, I completely forgot about the camera. I don't know. So when you're like in that moment and there's so much adrenaline rushing through your body, or it's like trauma or something like that, I feel like, will any of us really do the right thing? It would be hard to.
I would say I am friendly with Mike Lank. He was 5 years older than me. I knew him growing up. If I saw him,
Wait, sorry. The butt dial 7 times in a row. When was that brought up? To who? We covered the Nicole calls, the Brian calls, and the deleted calls. When was the butt dial brought up? Did I miss that? Sorry.
around town, I would say, hey, how are you? Pretty much that's the extent.
Anybody else other than Mike Lank that you're friends with?
Not that I am friends with. I knew of Officer Sean Good, but I wouldn't say I was friends with him. I just knew who he was.
And you also knew that Officer Lank was very good friends with the Albert family.
Good friends, yes.
You knew that Mike Lank and Chris Albert.
Oh, it hasn't happened. Okay, sorry, guys. Let's focus on the testimony right now because that makes me confused. It makes me feel like I missed something. I have to go back. I was about to rewind it and listen to the whole thing again. All right, guys. Wait, patience. Otherwise, I'll get really confused. Thank you.
Albert had a long-standing friendship, correct?
Correct.
You just indicated you also knew Officer Good. Is that right?
Didn't know him. I said I knew of him.
Okay. With regard to names like Sarah, Elaine, not so much.
Sarif has a sister that's the same age as my sister, but I had never, to my knowledge, met Sarif.
And of all the officers who responded to the scene, the two who actually went inside the Albert home to talk to Brian Albert and others was, in fact, Mike Lank and Officer Good.
I don't remember Officer Good in the house. I only remember Officer Lank.
I can barely remember if I'd taken my meds. Lady, same. You guys ever like taking your meds and you're like, wait, shit, did I just take it? So for me, I just have to look at my surveillance system and I'm like, did I take my medicine? I don't remember.
The reason you know that, the reason you have a memory of what was happening inside the house is because you were allowed to actually go into that home.
You're
correct?
good, Taxi. You're good.
Correct.
And you went into that home before any of the officers went into the home. Is that right?
Correct.
You were allowed to have private conversations with Brian Albert?
I woke Brian Albert up.
Were you allowed to have private conversations with Brian Albert?
Yes.
And you were allowed to have private conversations with your sister, Nicole?
Yes.
And that was before the police ever went in to do any formal interviews of you, Brian, or Nicole, correct?
Correct.
Did you discuss in these private conversations how you three were going to answer any questions for the police?
Harpoolian just reminds me of like a petulant child sometimes. You know, his little outburst that he has in trial. And then you compare that to Crandon Waters.
You were asked.
No.
Did you talk about what you were going to say in any respect?
We were in shock. There was no.
Did you talk about what Brian and Nicole were going to say in their interviews with the police?
No.
Did Brian Albert give you any advice as a police detective what you should do or say when you were interviewed?
No.
Did he give you any advice as a police detective what you should do with your cell phone?
No.
Did he tell you that the police might want to get a hold of your cell phone at some point?
No.
Did you two discuss the calls that you made to Nicole Albert at 6:07 and 6:08 and the call that you made to Brian Albert at 6:23?
No.
Did you ever discuss the idea of potentially deleting any of those calls that were made that early morning?
Absolutely not.
Would you tell us if you did?
Yes, because I'm an honest and truthful person.
Did you tell him which officers were outside?
I don't recall.
Did you tell him that Officer Lank, specifically, friend of the Alberts, was outside?
I don't recall.
And then your husband, Matt McCabe, arrived at the scene, correct?
Correct.
He was allowed to come in the house as well, right?
I believe Officer Lank was in the house before Matt came into the house.
And a little bit later that morning, Julie Albert came over, correct?
Correct.
And by the way, Officer Lank, after just a few minutes, then left the house, correct?
Correct.
Leaving all the witnesses inside together.
Correct.
And
Meds like antibiotics and stuff like that, or like pain meds.
I can't remember if I asked this question or just thought it out loud. Did Julie Albert come over?
She did.
And then Chris came over.
Yes.
Even Brian Higgins came over.
Correct.
These are all friends and family of yours, correct?
Not Brian Higgins. I had only met a handful of times.
But you consider him a friend.
A friend of Brian Albert's is how I would reference him.
Fair enough. So these are friends and family of Brian Albert.
Correct.
Jackson is an LA drama queen. I think Yannetti is local to Boston, or the Boston area. He's also pretty, I would say their style are very, very similar. Very, very aggressive.
And everyone was permitted to discuss the circumstances of the evening before, going into the early morning hours, with each other, with no police there, correct?
I sat with my family in shock and horror.
Were you allowed to discuss the circumstances of the night before, going into the early morning hours, amongst yourselves without any police presence? Yes or no?
There was no reason for us to be allowed or not allowed. We did nothing wrong.
Understand my question? Did you get it?
Yes, I understand your question.
Can you answer it yes or no? Were you allowed, that group of folks, were you allowed to discuss the case without police presence?
Yes.
Okay. So you listened during that friends and family gathering, you listened to what Brian Albert had to say, correct?
He didn't really say much.
He was able to listen to what you had to say?
Again, you're creating a scene that didn't happen.
Anything, Ms. McCabe, I'm asking some questions. You don't seem to want to answer.
Objection, Your Honor.
All right, so let's ask a question and let's get an answer, okay?
Yes or no? Was Brian Albert there within earshot when you discussed your version of what had happened?
I didn't discuss much. I sat there in shock and horror, so I spoke very little, to be honest with you.
But when you did speak, he could hear.
Yes.
And Nicole could hear.
Yes.
And Chris Albert could hear.
Chris came much later.
And your husband, Matt McCabe, he could hear.
Yes.
Okay. And then when Chris is talking about what happened at Waterfall, you could hear and Brian could hear. In other words, everybody could hear everybody.
Chris came much later. When Chris came, I was almost about to leave.
I'm guessing that the topic of what has happened was still on everybody's mind.
Everybody was trying to figure out what had happened.
And you're discussing it amongst yourselves. That's my point.
With my sister and my brother-in-law and my husband. Correct.
Before you left, you said you were about to leave. Before you left, another Albert came over to the house, correct?
I don't recall seeing him.
Brian?
Kevin Albert.
Oh, Kevin.
How'd you know
Wait,
it?
Kevin. Who the fuck is Kevin Albert? Oh, is Kevin Albert another Albert sibling? Brian Albert, Chris Albert. I thought it was Tim. Who the hell is Kevin?
I'm talking about Kevin Albert.
Because you said another Albert came over, and I
6 brothers.
was told later it was Kevin.
Who the fuck is Kevin?
So you believe that Kevin was not there when you were still there?
I was in a state of shock. He may have walked in.
I'm asking, do you remember?
I don't remember it, no.
He could have been.
He could have been, absolutely.
And you knew he was a Canton police officer.
Yes.
You had already gotten a call from Michael Proctor, hadn't you?
Yes.
He told you he wanted to speak with you.
Correct.
So you knew at that point that the Massachusetts State Police troopers had taken over the investigation of the case, correct?
Correct.
Did Michael Proctor tell you that the Canton Police Department had been recused from the case?
Objection.
Sustained.
Let me ask you in a different way. Did you have knowledge in any way, shape, form, or fashion?
I actually wonder why Proctor wouldn't recuse himself from this as well. If it's like, oh, Canton recused himself because, maybe it looks like there could be conflict of interest, possibly. Why wouldn't Proctor do the same thing in this case? If he was... Well, I guess from hearing Colin's testimony, they were... The parents were friends when he was younger, but not friends anymore, or close friends anymore, or not as close, I guess.
At that point, the Canton Police Department was not supposed to be involved in the case.
Objection.
Like, don't they have other people in the state police that can do this case?
Speaking of Trooper Proctor,
Tim is also a brother, right? Who's Kevin then? Kevin is an Albert brother? Wait, how many Albert brothers are there? I thought there was only 3 Albert brothers. I thought there was Tim, Chris, and Brian. I don't remember hearing about a Kevin. I thought there was only 3 of them.
when you first interviewed with him, that was January 29th, 2022. We've already discussed that.
Oh, there's 6 of them? Okay.
Correct?
Correct.
And he was taking notes while you were interviewing with him. Is that right?
I believe so.
You mentioned on Friday your observations of the taillight that day. Is that right?
Correct.
Oh, yeah, that was pretty big. When law enforcement pulled up to John O'Keefe's house and Karen Reed's car was in the driveway, and you could see the taillight was missing on the right side. Like a little red chunkling was missing.
You told Mr. Lally that you indicated that the taillight looked, when you saw it, just like the photograph that he showed you, correct?
I told him it was hard to make out and with the snow on it, but it looked in the picture that he showed.
There's 6, but I don't think Kevin is relevant at this point. Gotcha.
He showed you a second photo, a close-up, basically, of the SUV in Sally Port. Is that right?
Yes.
And you said, yeah, that's the condition of the taillight, correct?
Yes.
You also told Trooper Proctor about your observations of the taillight on that same day, the 29th, right?
Correct.
That's literally the same day that you saw the taillight, correct?
Correct.
Just a few hours later, is that right?
Correct.
And what you told Trooper Proctor that day was that you, quote, saw a crack in it,
Thank you.
end quote, correct?
I told him that the taillight was cracked.
Matter of fact, the words that you used were that you saw, and I'm not fighting on those words. You saw that it was cracked. You actually said, I saw a crack in it, correct?
That's what he said I said. I'm telling you, I said the taillight was cracked.
This is another example of him screwing up your words, correct?
You'd have to ask Trooper Proctor.
So I'm asking you, did you say, I saw a crack in it?
I said the taillight was cracked.
So you didn't say, I saw a crack in it, right?
I said the taillight was cracked.
The photograph that you were shown, with the court's permission, it's Exhibit 92.
Man, wouldn't it be nice if they have taped interviews? Wouldn't that just be great? Oh my goodness. Bring people in for questioning and have it interviewed, have it all taped up. Oh my gosh. Sorry, not taped up. Have it taped, recorded, blah, blah, blah.
I believe from Friday.
Okay.
May I, Your Honor?
Yes.
You see that photograph? You were shown this photograph on Friday. Does that look like, does it like has a crack in it?
It's cracked, yes.
It's actually completely missing.
Yeah. And I believe in one of the reports, one of the many reports, it will say that I said it was cracked in missing pieces.
Right. Does that look like it's cracked and missing pieces, or does that look like the entirety of the taillight is basically gone?
Again, in that picture, there are the red pieces, there are some of it still there. So it's cracked and missing. In a state of shock, that was my description.
Got it. So in a state of shock, you said there was a crack in it.
No,
Hours after,
I
If police interrogate me, in my transcript, it would say, chunklings missing.
said it was cracked.
And they would have to repeat it back to me in court.
I never said there was a crack
Miss Corgi, did you say there were chunklings missing from the taillight? Yes, chunklings. Chunklings of it.
in it.
so if Trooper Proctor wrote that down, that would be an example of him getting your words wrong yet again.
Objection.
Right?
That's been answered. Let's move along, please.
That's okay for that. Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay.
Blank, you eventually made your way back to your house. Is that right?
Yes,
You went with your husband, Matt,
yes,
and you knew that Trooper Proctor was going to show up and interview you and Matt, Mr. McCabe, correct?
on the phone he asked, he wanted to speak with me.
Is that yes?
So I wasn't aware, he asked to speak with me. I wasn't aware if he was going to speak with Matt.
Okay. You were at least aware that you were going to be interviewed.
Correct,
You told Brian Albert that Trooper Proctor was planning on interviewing you as well.
correct,
Before Trooper Proctor showed up to conduct that interview at your house, Brian Albert actually showed up at your house, correct?
correct.
Ew. Why am I craving KFC? Well, it depends on where you live. In America, KFC sucks, but KFC in other countries, not bad. Like KFC in Thailand is not bad. I think KFC in Japan, I think they have this like whole Christmas holiday where they buy this like KFC holiday set. But KFC in America sucks. I don't know why, but the chicken is always super soggy. They used to have delicious like mashed potato rice bowls, but I don't think they do the rice bowls anymore. I don't know. KFC is just like,
So Brian Albert made sure that he was in your home before Trooper Proctor made it to your house, correct?
Objection.
Sustained.
Brian Albert was in your home before Trooper Proctor was in your home. Is that right?
I am not sure who arrived first.
But he was there when you were interviewed, wasn't he?
He was upstairs, yes.
And you believe, of course, with that statement, he didn't hear anything about what was going to happen, right? He didn't hear
100.
anything about the interview.
No, I don't think he could hear it from where he was.
But you knew he was just a few feet away.
I knew he was up in my bedroom.
We've talked a little bit about your call records, and I want to pivot for a second and ask you about those call records.
call records. Okay, back to the
This is
call
Exhibit
records.
90. Yes.
Shibuya KFC Best in Japan. Heard you can see some jujutsu out
you.
there. Jujutsu Kaisen, the latest season was, I don't know, it was boring to me. I didn't like it.
This is a forensic extraction report of John O'Keefe's cell phone that you were shown on Friday, right?
Correct?
You acknowledge that it's an accurate report of calls found on John's phone between you and him. Is that right?
I believe so, yes.
Okay, and this shows the calls that you made to John's phone or you received from John's phone on or between or at or between 12:14 a.m. and 12:50 a.m. I want to direct your attention to those timeframes, correct?
Correct.
All right, I want to start at the bottom, and it may go in reverse chronological order.
Okay.
I think it does. At 12:14, it shows that you called John O'Keefe and that call was answered. Is that right?
Yeah, correct.
At 12:18 a.m., it shows that John O'Keefe called your phone, and that was answered as well.
Correct.
And then at 12:29 a.m.,
Wait,
called
sorry.
your phone. Is that right?
Yeah, correct.
At 12:18 a.m., it shows that John O'Keefe called your phone, and that was answered as well.
Correct.
And then at 12:29 a.m., you also called John O'Keefe's phone, and y'all had a short conversation as well. Is that right?
No.
That the record shows. I think it shows.
On 12 what?
9 a.m. that call was answered. Is that right?
Yeah, correct.
At 12:18 a.m., it shows that John O'Keefe called your phone, and that was answered as well.
Correct.
And then at 12:29 a.m., you also called John O'Keefe's phone, and y'all had a short conversation as well. Is that right? 29 a.m., you
29?
called your phone, and that was answered as well.
Correct.
And then at 12:29 a.m., you also called John O'Keefe's phone, and y'all had a short conversation as well. Is that right?
No.
That the record shows. I think it shows. Pardon me.
How long did that convo last?
Unknown, correct? In terms of whether it was missed or answered.
Excuse me, can you repeat that?
I hear KFC in China is exemplary.
12:29. I want to concentrate on the 12:29 a.m. call.
Okay.
Oh, McDonald's in Japan sucks.
That one in the Celebrite extraction, it shows in terms of whether the call was answered or not. The status is unknown, correct? It's on the last page,
Yeah.
second row from the top.
12:29. Unknown, yes.
Unknown. However, you've already acknowledged that y'all did have a short conversation on that 2:29
She said
No.
no.
call, correct?
We didn't speak at 2:29. We spoke at 12:14 and we spoke at 12:18. We never spoke at 12:29.
So you're
Wait, why would the status be unknown?
indicating that the 12:29 call was either missed or otherwise. Went to voicemail, something.
The 12:29, yes.
Okay. I want to show you a document. Well, let me ask it this way. According to this, there were 6 more calls between your phone and John O'Keefe's phone.
Correct.
Count, correct? 1, 2, 3, 5, 6. And that's before, or that's up to 12:50 a.m. Is that right?
Correct.
All right. I'd like to show you another document. Or if I can approach briefly.
Thank you.
I'm going to show you one more document that you weren't shown on Friday. Do you recognize this one?
No.
Okay. If you look where it indicates on the left column, I'm just putting my thumb here, the
Okay.
left column, the MSISDN user, there's a number that ends there.
MS.
0142. 0142.
Your Honor, may we approach?
Yes.
Sorry, I'm going to answer this question before we approach.
I have no idea what we're approaching about this document.
Yes.
Why don't we just go up there?
Sure.
May I have that, please?
Right. Is that?
That's mine.
Okay, if you look 6 lines below that, there's a full phone number. Again, don't leave the phone number out. Just tell me if you recognize it.
I do.
Whose is that?
That's mine.
Okay. May I approach your Honor?
Yes.
Your phone number back at the time and the Apple ID back at the time.
Yes.
Associated with the phone that you then turned in to law enforcement, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Why did you turn the phone in? The law enforcement.
Calls between your phone and John O'Keefe's phone after going from 12:14 after that all the way up to 12:50, correct?
Correct.
Take a look at the last couple of pages, page 3 and 4 of your own cell phone extraction report. And tell me if you see a single call listed between you and John O'Keefe for January 29th between 12:14 and 12:50.
That I'm assuming is John.
What
I'm
time?
just not sure. I see a call. Wait a minute.
Right. It's chronological except for the calls that were deleted. You see a call at 5:52 to John O'Keefe's phone,
I see a call at 5:52, yes.
but there's not a single call before 5:52 a.m. between 12:14 and 12:50 a.m. Is that right? Not one.
It's very hard to, this report, time-wise.
You can look at every single time on the report, there's not that many.
I'm just trying to say that it goes from 7:21 to 5:52 to 7:33 to 7:49. There's no order, they're out of order.
I understand that, Mr. McCabe, but if you look at every one of the entries, there's not a single entry for 1214, 1218, or any of the subsequent 1229, any of the subsequent phone calls. They're all shown on John O'Keefe's phone extraction. Would you agree with that?
Correct.
May I approach?
Yes.
Thank you. Your Honor, I would move for the admission of NN as an exhibit.
So I guess maybe he's trying to say that on John O'Keefe's phone, we have these call phone records between you and him, but on your cell phone data, it's not on there? Is that what we're getting at?
Okay, is there an objection?
No, Your Honor.
Just showing that she deleted those on her end. I'm a visual person. Can I see the visuals?
Require, Your Honor? Yes.
Can he enter into evidence and we can look at it on the screen?
The fact of the matter is, according to those Celebrite records and that extraction from your own phone, every one of the calls that you made to John O'Keefe's phone between 12:29 and, between 12:14 and 12:50 a.m. was deleted and unrecovered, correct?
12:29 to 12:50, but not 12:14 and 12:18?
Phone. The fact of the matter is, according to those Celebrite records and that extraction from your own phone, every one of the calls that you made to John O'Keefe's phone between 12:29 and, between 12:14 and 12:50 a.m. was deleted and unrecovered, correct? 14 and 12:50 a.m. was deleted and unrecovered, correct?
I didn't understand that report, and I'm not an expert.
When you compare the two, you saw a bunch of calls on John O'Keefe's phone, right? You know, he couldn't have deleted them. He passed away, right?
Correct.
You saw your cell phone extraction, which is the handshake for John O'Keefe's phone.
Who deletes calls? Why did Mr. Lally get ahead of this? Wait, okay, let me think. Would there not be a way for Lolly to get ahead of these phone calls? I'm trying to think. Could Lolly go up to the witness and be like, oh, yeah, I don't know. Maybe Lolly was back. Maybe he was hoping that this would happen cross-examination and he'll clean it up and redirect. Yeah, I know, Master. I know. Lolly, there's a lot of stuff where I'm just like, huh? Lolly, you should have known that this was going to come up.
And all your calls are missing, right?
Objection.
Can you answer that question?
I'm confused that
Maybe she was trying to clear her storage. That's whose excuse is that? Oh, Barry Morphew. That's a we'll have to wait and see what happens with that one. I remember Barry Morphew saying that when he was deleting calls, I think to his wife. He was trying to make room for storage or something. Did Murdoch say that as well?
paper, I don't understand it. It was vague. There were numbers, there were calls everywhere. There was a number of missing calls.
There's a bunch of missing calls, right? You didn't see any of the calls that were reflected on John O'Keefe's phone. Is that right? Yes or no? They're not there.
A lot of calls are missing. I'm not really even sure what's there because the numbers are all, it's all redacted.
So you were not seeing any redacted calls, Ms. Smith.
The page you just had in front of me was redacted.
It's now an exhibit.
Your personal information was redacted. None of the calls were redacted now.
The numbers, I don't know people's phone numbers. I just have them as contacts.
Ms. McCabe, you just said a second ago, and we can do this all day long, or we can just make it simple. The fact of the matter is that report did not show any of the calls that John O'Keefe's phone report showed, correct? From 12:14 to 12:50.
I believe there was one on there.
5:52. That's the next morning, ma'am. Right?
Were there other calls in that time period on the Celebrate?
You just said there weren't. You just looked at it.
I've told you that that Celebrate report was extremely hard to read.
Right. The fact is, there are no calls on your own phone extraction between you and John O'Keefe between 12:14 and 12:50. Would you just agree with that, at least on that report?
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained.
The fact is that you deleted your call record before you turned your phone in, didn't you, Ms. McCabe? That's what that report shows.
Absolutely not.
You sanitized your phone because you didn't want the police to know who you had been calling or the fact that you had been calling John O'Keefe's phone incessantly, correct?
Incorrect. I willingly turned over my phone.
After you deleted your phone call logs, correct?
Absolutely not.
What date did you turn your phone over?
Possibly February 3rd.
How many days after this incident was that?
4 or 5.
So you
You guys are talking about chefs. Have you guys seen that TV show, The Bear? It's so good, but it gives me so much anxiety because I used to work in the restaurant industry, and oh my god, some of the episodes, the way they film it and the way they show how chaotic and crazy it can get in a restaurant. Oh my god, my anxiety was like up the fucking roof.
had plenty of time to talk to that friends and family group and ultimately decide to delete your phone calls, correct?
Hi, Erica.
Objection.
Sustained.
Did you ever have any group chats with family members who are witnesses in this case?
Yes.
May I approach John?
Yes.
Jeremy White, fine as hell.
Look through those. Lally is looking through that packet. Can I just ask to make sure the record is clear? Did you delete any of your calls before you turned your phone into law enforcement?
I spoke with the 2 officers that I handed my phone over to, and I asked if I could delete the personal conversations with my daughters, and they said absolutely yes, that I could.
So
Is that a thing? Interesting.
other than calls with your daughters that you deleted, did you delete any other calls on your phone at all?
There were text messages. It was actually text messages with my daughters that I deleted, and that was all I deleted.
Did you delete any phone calls?
I do not recall deleting any phone calls at all. I would have no reason to delete anything.
So that's very different than I didn't delete any phone calls. I do not remember deleting phone calls. Means you might have.
In day-to-day life,
Wouldn't law enforcement just be like, oh, you can't delete them, but, you know, we're not going to, if it's not pertinent to the case, we're not going to use them. We're not going to go through them. We're not, you know what I mean? Like,
people delete things, but I do not recall deleting any phone calls.
In day-to-day life, did you delete any of the calls to John O'Keefe?
No,
Did you delete any of your calls with Nicole Albert?
no,
Did you delete any of your calls with Brian Albert?
no,
With Chris Albert?
no,
With Julie Albert?
no,
Colin Albert?
no.
With any of the witnesses in this case, did you delete any calls before?
because so far the defense has said that she deleted 2 phone calls to Nicole Albert, her sister, at 6:07 and 6:08, I guess. And those calls lasted 7 and 8 seconds, respectively. But she said she never called and didn't leave a voice message. And then now we have, from what Jackson is saying, deleted calls to John O'Keefe that night.
Before you turn that phone over?
No, no.
May I present?
Yes.
Ms. McCabe, I'm handing you a packet of documents.
I mean, they must have confronted her about this in the grand jury trial, right? If her phone was distracted a couple days after John's body was found. They must have already gone through this in grand jury and the federal stuff.
Appears to be about 10 pages long. Do you recognize what's in those documents?
Yes,
You indicated already that you were part of a group chat with certain members of your family and friends.
correct.
Did that group chat, I'm most interested in the group chat between yourself, Nicole Albert, Brian Albert, Matt McCabe, on or around, that group chat starting on or around February 1st, 2022.
Okay.
Does that look like a true and accurate reflection of the text messages between, or certain of the text messages between and among that group?
Yes, the ones I've seen. Yes.
On February
Can you just
1st
tell me what page you're on? I'm sorry.
Of course, Your Honor.
Oh. True. Hold on, I completely forgot about that. True. Defense was not present for that. True. I was thinking of preliminary hearing. True.
Bait stamp number?
2140.
Oh man, wouldn't it have been great if the defense was there though? It would have been great practice for a real trial.
Okay, thank you.
Start.
Thank you.
And they should go relatively chronologically, Your Honor, page by
Okay.
page. On February 1st,
Yeah, because preliminary hearings when you have both sides are present, not grand jury. Thank you, Sarah.
2022, around 2:15 in the afternoon on this group chat, did you receive a message from your husband on the group? This is on page 2148. That should be the middle bubble.
I guess when Jackson is going over these cell break call records, how come he's not showing them to the jury? I feel like it would be really great to have a visual on this.
The middle and the bottom bubble. Quote, Julie said channel 4 is in BE. You see that?
Yes.
The response from Matt McCabe is eating, I assume, quote, ask Chris to ask some questions. Tell them the guy never went in the house, end quote. You see that?
Yes.
Look at the next page, the top, 149. There's a one-word answer from Brian Albert. What is that answer?
Exactly.
Does it appear to you from this chat that Matt McCabe was directing witnesses, specifically Chris Albert, what to say to the news media?
Objection.
I'll allow that. Is that what you're seeing?
That is not how I would understand this.
He never went in that, tell them he never went in the house was the story that had been concocted between and among this group of people on this chat, correct?
Objection.
I'll allow that.
I don't think it's submit them as evidence to the someone expert testify. Gotcha. That makes sense.
No. John never went in the house. It wasn't a story. It was the truth. And it is the truth.
Just like she said I hit him.
Correct.
So according to this chat, at least, at the very base level, this is one witness telling another witness to give certain information to the media that could be useful to the group, correct? Tell them the guy never went in the house, right?
Objection.
Sustained.
Matt McCabe was directing Chris Albert. Chris Albert wasn't even at the house, was he?
Chris Albert was not at the house now.
But this chat is Matt McCabe, your husband, telling Chris Albert, who was never at the house and would have no personal knowledge of what happened at the house, to specifically say, the guy never came in the house. The guy, by the way, being John O'Keefe. Right?
Because I could see Matt McCabe doing that, because since Chris never came into the house, I could see Matt saying that, like, hey, like, you know, tell them that John never came in, or the guy never came in. In all honesty, I feel like the best course of action would have just been just say no comment. But I don't know if no comment looks more suspicious than try to make it seem like you're open and transparent about what happened. What the fuck is that noise? My house on fire? Wait, is that me? Okay, I thought I heard something. I don't know. Oh, I think my ears are just ringing. Oh my god. Oh no, it's just my ears ringing. What the fuck? Oh, it's me.
That's what he wrote.
Does that sound to you a little bit like collusion?
Objection.
Sustained.
At some point, you sought out Kerry Roberts' cell phone number shortly after the 29th, or maybe not, maybe on the 29th, right?
Correct.
You didn't have her cell number in your phone?
No.
One of your primary concerns was to make sure that you got in contact with Kerry Roberts before the day's end, right?
I wanted to speak to Carrie as she was on her way to the hospital, and I wanted to check in on John.
One of your primary concerns, Ms. McCabe, was that you wanted to make sure you got a hold of Kerry Roberts and had communication with her before the end of the day.
It had nothing to do with getting in touch with her by the end of the day. It was a friend reaching out, wondering how her friend was doing, who was just taken off the front lawn.
On the 29th.
I don't think it's odd that she got Karen Roberts' number.
Yes.
So before the end of the day, Ms. McCabe, you do this all day long. Before the end of the day, you were trying to get a hold of Kerry Roberts, correct?
Immediately in the
Actually, no, we can't do this all day long because we only have a half day today because the judge said so.
morning, I wanted to get in touch with her.
Right. So you sought out her phone number. First you tried.
The quotes are high?
No, it's exactly what we're talking
Oh, really?
My client, Karen Reed, correct?
Correct.
But then you found
Well, actually, show
another
me
source
later.
for that information. Is that right?
Correct.
And you said just a second ago you were claiming that you needed that information because you knew that she was on the way to see John O'Keefe's parents,
She was picking them up.
and you wanted to check on them.
Correct.
You've been friends with the O'Keefe family for years, haven't you?
Correct.
So you didn't have a need to get Carrie Roberts' phone number, did you?
I wanted to speak with Carrie, see how she was doing. I was not going to call Peg.
You had her phone number, didn't you?
I do, yes.
So if you wanted to check on somebody, you could have just called her.
I was not going to call Peg O'Keefe on the way to see her son at the hospital.
Oh, Peg is John's mom. Okay.
Check on your friend. That was just too much.
I wanted to ask Carrie. I'm sure she was boggled down and probably did not want to speak with anyone. It was a simple thing. I made sure I got Carrie Roberts' number so I could check in and see how John was doing. Also, we had just been through an extremely traumatic event together. There's nothing evil here.
Roberts' number, Ms. McCabe, is because you wanted to make sure that you controlled her story as she left your site, correct?
Absolutely not.
Did you take any steps whatsoever to influence Carrie Roberts' statements?
No.
No Lolly today or tomorrow morning. Lolly like, yes, 4-day weekend. I'm just kidding. He has to listen intensely and then, or not intensely. He has to listen intently and does his like objections and stuff like that.
Because that would be collusion, wouldn't it?
Objection.
Sustained.
Okay, I'm going to speed this up
Did
a
you
little
write a
bit.
text to the group, including Brian Albert, Nicole Albert, and Matt McCabe, where you informed them that, quote, and this is, Your Honor, on page 2158, where you informed them, quote, Carrie is here going over timeline, end quote.
Correct.
So you reported back to Brian, Nicole, and Matt that Carrie was where?
She came over my house.
And you two sat down and went over a, quote, timeline together.
Peggy spoke to Carrie.
Or no? I didn't ask about Peggy.
Well, that's where the timeline started at.
Did you ask Carrie, or did Carrie show up at your house and, quote unquote, go over a timeline with you?
Carrie showed up asking to sit down with me to do a timeline so we would remember everything that had happened.
And you wanted to be super helpful about that, right?
Objection, Your Honor.
Ask it differently.
Sure. You wanted to be helpful to Carrie Roberts.
The two of us were trying to figure out what had happened to our friend.
And so you made sure that you created and drafted with Carrie Roberts a timeline for her, correct?
I didn't make sure of anything. She was the one that asked me to do it.
And not only did you create a timeline, you then reported back to your group, Brian Albert, Nicole Albert, Matt McCabe, that she was creating this timeline with you on February 1st, 2022.
Oh, like, and then discounts too. And financing and cash and all that stuff. That's not included yet, right?
Isn't that right?
Yes.
After you created or drafted this timeline with Carrie, she actually sat for an interview with the police, did she not? That's not in the chats. I'm just asking. She sat down for an interview with the police, didn't she?
When?
You tell me. That's my question.
I'm not sure of when you're talking about.
Okay, let's start over.
Yes.
After this timeline was created on February 1st, at some point thereafter, Carrie Roberts conducted a formal interview with the police about this case, correct?
Do you have the report of that date?
We're sort of burying the lead. She did the interview in your living room, ma'am. Right?
There was,
Ah.
on Tuesday, 2 officers came to the house and she sat in the other room and spoke with them.
So, using my question, she did the interview at your house.
Oh, they came to my house to interview me, and she happened to be there, so they asked if they could speak with her also.
Okay. Did she or did she not do an interview at your house?
She did, yes.
That wasn't that hard. You were present for that interview, weren't you?
I was eating dinner.
You were present for the interview, Ms. McCabe,
I was in the house, yes.
and you listened to that interview, didn't you?
No, I did not.
You made sure you gave Carrie Roberts everything she needed for that interview, correct? Quote, everything she might need for that interview, didn't you?
And where is this that you're quoting from?
I'm asking you.
Oh, I'm sorry. When you quoted, I thought it was in here. I apologize.
We'll get to it in a second. Did you tell her everything that you wanted her to say?
No, I did not.
Did you in any way attempt to influence her testimony before she gave that interview in your living room?
Absolutely not. Carrie is her own person.
But then you did report her progress to the Albert and McCabe group in that group chat, didn't you?
Can you show me where, please?
Sure. Isn't it true that in a group text with Brian Albert, Nicole Albert, Matt McCabe, you wrote, and this is on page 2159, quote, and we handed Carrie, sorry, and handed phone to Carrie. Remember that?
I see that, yes.
And the very next text is from you telling the group she's telling him everything in all caps, 2 exclamation points.
Yes.
And then you went on to say at 2:55 p.m., it's basically the same moment, quote, all this stuff, end quote, correct?
Correct.
So when you said a couple of minutes ago
Were these text messages deleted too?
that you weren't listening to what she was saying, that was a lie, wasn't it?
We're talking about 2 different interviews. I'm talking about when the officers came to my house and spoke to her there. You're saying that I handed the phone over, so that would be a different interview.
McCabe, this is on February 1st at 2:55. I wasn't there. You were there. She was in your house on February 1st giving an interview to the police, wasn't she?
One day she was there giving an interview to the police.
And while she was there,
But I do not believe it was at 2:55. It was later in the evening, so I think you might have 2 events confused.
so either way, whether she was on the phone with the police or sitting there in your living room with the police, you were listening to her and reporting back to the group. She's telling them everything.
The one, no, it's not correct. The one that she did with the police, she did in the other room. And the one she did on the phone, I said, she's telling them everything.
I know.
Because Carrie is an extremely blunt person, and she was giving personal feelings about the situation. And I was horrified by it.
To the police.
Like what?
To the police.
And you're
Like what? What were those details?
listening.
I heard a statement she said that horrified me.
And then you're reporting
was?
it back to the group.
Oh no, I don't think. Oh no, we can't. We can't ask her what she heard Carrie say. Damn it! I don't think so, right? I mean, it's not for the truth of the matter. Can you just tell us what you heard Carrie say? What did Carrie say? Oh, I can't wait for Carrie to testify at the stand.
Weren't you?
That one thing she stated, I reported back to the group, yes.
So you're listening in on a police interview, correct?
It was a phone call.
One side of it, right?
It was a phone call.
You're listening in on a police interview, one side of it, correct?
Correct.
You're eavesdropping on that interview, correct?
I'm sitting with her and she's taking the call.
And then you're reporting that interview back, or her success in that interview, in your mind, back to the group involving Brian Albert, Nicole Albert, and Matt McCabe. Isn't that what you're doing?
Objection.
I'll allow it. I absolutely not. That is not how it went. I was horrified because Carrie's a blunt person, not like me. And she had made a comment about Miss Reed and Mr. O'Keefe's relationship. And I was shocked and horrified that she said it the way that she did.
You're so shocked and horrified that
I said, oh my God, she's telling them everything. Yes.
you decided it was so important that you needed to report that back to Brian Albert and his friends.
I was
family.
horrified.
So you reported that back.
Yes, I said she told them everything.
When you were first confronted with these messages at a separate proceeding in June of 2023, you claimed that you couldn't remember what that exchange was about, correct?
Correct.
And now you just all of a sudden have this newfound memory of exactly what that text message was referring to, correct?
Objection.
I'll allow it. Yes, because Carrie Roberts said a statement and it jogged. I said, oh my God, that's what I meant when I said she said everything.
When did she say this statement?
Probably in the fall. She has made this statement a few times in reference to Karen.
You and Carrie Roberts are still coordinating your statements together.
Oh, no, we're not. It's just an opinion she has of Miss Reed.
Oh, so
And
she
all of a
doesn't
sudden,
like.
that became your, quote,
I'm assuming Carrie doesn't like Karen.
everything, all this stuff.
It didn't just become it. I forgot that I had written it. And one day, Carrie made the statement. And I'm sure it happens to everyone. You forget something, and then you're like, oh my God, that's what it was.
No, I'm not sure that happens to everyone.
Oh man, she's looking at the jury, and you know what? Sometimes it does happen. Shit, I wonder what the jury thought of that.
Objection.
Sustained.
Let me ask you a different question. When you were asked under oath a year ago, when things were fresher in your mind, you were asked specifically what you were referring to, and your answer was, I have no idea, correct?
Correct.
Because you didn't want to tell them that you had coordinated your statement with Carrie Roberts. Isn't that right?
No, that is not right. I did not remember what it was.
Went on to be asked specifically, do you know who you were referring to? And you said, maybe Carrie, maybe. I'm talking to Carrie. And the question was, but you don't recall this text? And your answer was, I don't remember. That's what you testified to a year ago, correct?
Correct.
But now you're talking about some memory of a disparaging comment that Carrie Roberts has about my client. And that's the everything in your mind.
Yes, the things that she was saying.
Quite obviously, what you were referring to in that text in real time, Ms. McCabe, was that Carrie Roberts
Are you allowed to make faces as a juror or no? I mean, if I was a member of the jury, I would definitely be making faces. It'd be really hard for me to keep a straight face. Yes, this is cross-examination. Jen McCabe, cross-examination.
was telling the police quote, everything that you had laid out for her in this timeline meeting you had with her, correct?
Objection.
So it's sustained as to that form. You can ask that question in a proper way.
The everything you referred to in that text in real time was what you had worked out with Carrie in that timeline meeting, wasn't it? That was the everything you were referring to, correct?
Incorrect. We never worked together to come up with a story. We have the facts, and the everything was a comment about your client.
You went on in your group chat with Brian Albert, Nicole Albert, and Matt McCabe to give running updates about whether or not Carrie Roberts was actually following the script, correct?
Incorrect. There was no script.
167. Matt McCabe texted the group, Brian, comma, sitting separate, end quote, correct?
Yes.
Sounds like Matt McCabe is reporting back to Brian Albert, following the instructions, we're sitting separate.
Objection.
Hold on.
Sitting separate.
There was no script.
167. Matt McCabe texted the group, Brian, comma, sitting separate, end quote, correct?
Yes.
Sounds like Matt McCabe is reporting back to Brian Albert, following the instructions, we're sitting separate.
Objection.
Sustained.
1 minute later, Brian Albert had a one-word response to the Brian sitting separate, correct?
Yes.
What was that one-word response?
Okay.
So it sounded like he was giving his approval for where people were situated in that meeting, correct?
Objection.
Sustained.
At page 2168, 515.
It's very hard to just look at two texts and try to understand what the context is.
Mr. McCabe, if you don't understand the question that I have, just let me know, but otherwise let me ask the question. On page 2168, at 515, you wrote the group, quote, you listening, correct?
Yes.
And at the same time, 515, you then wrote, cops here again, end quote, correct?
Correct.
That was in reference to the police coming over to your house to further interview Carrie Roberts, wasn't it?
That was when they came to talk to me.
And Carrie Roberts was there.
Was
correct?
at my house, correct?
And a few minutes later at 5:23, Nicole Albert texts, call us after, correct?
Correct.
And a few minutes after that, Matt McCabe texts, quote, this girl could write a book, ... nonstop, correct?
Correct.
So obviously Matt McCabe, along with you, was listening to Carrie Roberts give her interview.
We were sitting in the kitchen eating dinner with our children, and Carrie Roberts was in a different room, but she was going on and on and on, as she does, because they were in the other room.
And you could listen.
I could hear voices.
I wonder if she gets along with Carrie Roberts.
You could hear her interview with the police.
Did not hear her interview. I could hear them talking, but I was sitting at a table with my children eating dinner, getting ready to go to a basketball game.
You then responded to Matt McCabe, I love it.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And then you responded about this interview you just testified under oath and under penalty of perjury, not hearing anything about, just hearing voices. Your next text was, quote, she is telling them everything.
Yes.
End quote. Correct?
Yes.
So what you said just a few minutes ago about not knowing what she was saying, I could just hear voices, that was a lie.
It was.
Objection.
Sustained.
And a couple of seconds later, Nicole Albert responds, one word. What was her response?
Good.
Say, you listening? You say, you listening?
Objection, Your Honor.
The objection sustained.
At the end of the day, you were eavesdropping on an interview that Carrie Roberts was having with law enforcement in their official capacity.
No, I was sitting eating dinner, and some of the things, obviously, I overheard, but I was not eavesdropping. I'm saying there's a possibility, if I'm sitting in this room eating dinner and someone's in another room talking, you can hear bits and pieces. Was I eavesdropping? No. Is there some big cover-up story? No.
Well, why, Ms. McCabe, does your testimony keep evolving? A second ago, you told this jury, you said I couldn't hear a thing. All I could hear was voices, like muffled voices from the other room. She was going on and on about something.
Yeah.
And then when I confronted you with the text message where you said, she's telling them everything, now it's, well, I may have heard a couple of things. Which is it?
No, she was going on and on and on like she does.
And you were listening on and on and on like you do.
I was probably hearing bits and pieces.
Why was it so important to report back to the group that you were happy that Carrie Roberts was saying, quote, everything?
Objection.
I'll allow it.
We had both lost our friend. Carrie Roberts was in shock, as was I in shock. The two of us had all this information that just kept coming back to us and back to us. And it's terrifying when you go through an experience and you're in shock. And Carrie was remembering things, I was remembering things. So I was happy for her that she was piecing it all together, and I had pieced it all together, because at the end of the day, our friend was dead, and we were trying to figure out what had happened to him together. There was no direction. We were all trying to figure out what had happened, because that's what you do when you lose somebody you love.
Were you happy for her, or were you happy for you and Brian and Matt and Nicole?
For me and for her, because we were going through this together. There was no conversation.
Got the story out that you're trying to get out from Carrie Roberts. Right?
Objection.
I'll allow that.
There is no story. There's facts and truth on this side. There's no story. The story that you've created is not the truth.
Did I create, I hit him, or did you?
That's fact.
A fact that conveniently you didn't mention in your report. A blank? Grand jury? Right? That kind of fact.
Objection.
Is that right?
That is the fact I mentioned. So in some reports, it's there.
The fact is, you wanted to keep very close tabs on Carrie Roberts.
Hey, a little bit of a spoiler alert. Question. Do we get to the internet search today? We're about 30 minutes away from break.
Didn't you?
Do we get there?
No.
On January 29th, you look on page 2223, you text the group, quote, Carrie talked to cops and kept it simple, end quote.
No? Oh, God. Does cross-examination continue on to the next day?
Yes.
Okay, it's become a habit for you to keep tabs on Carrie Roberts, isn't it?
Objection.
Sustained.
You'll agree that over and over and over and over again, you're reporting to this tight group, Nicole, Brian Albert, your husband, how Carrie's doing in her stories to the police, aren't you? Over and over and over.
I am telling them what is going on. I wouldn't say, well, let's count them. Was there 4 of them? You're saying over and over and over and over. It's a bit extreme.
I see. So you take issue with the way that I phrase over and over and over.
Well, it's misleading, I believe.
I see. Okay. Well, let me see if I can try this in a non-misleading way, Mrs. Kane.
Okay.
So at least one of us, I'll withdraw. You consistently reported back to the group how Carrie Roberts was doing with the police, didn't you?
I would update them after Carrie saw and spoke to the police. Again, we were all trying to figure out what had happened to John.
There's yet another text from Brian's wife, Nicole, on January 29th, and this is on page 2226. End quote. And then you texted, right, correct?
Correct.
What's that about?
Objection.
I'll allow it.
We decided that we would talk on the phone. My children look on my phone. Her children look on her phone. We were working with the police. I was sharing information and everything that had happened. We didn't want it to leave our little circle because we were trying to figure out what happened, and we're not going to go running around letting people see, oh my gosh, they think this might have happened or that might have happened. It was nothing more than let's not text about it.
So you wanted to keep it, in your words, in your little circle, correct?
Correct. I didn't want it all out there what we had thought had happened. I was going to let the police do their job.
So by definition, the info that Nicole Albert was talking about, that needed to be kept very tight, very secret, correct?
We needed the police to do their job, so we weren't going.
Texts, and Nicole wanted her texts, and the group wanted their texts to be kept secret and private. Isn't that right?
Not secret and private. We just weren't going to communicate certain things over text.
Did you give, or did anybody give you any private information the next
Did she delete these text messages or no? I'm assuming not because that wasn't brought up.
day on January 30th?
Because it's like, I don't know. It's like you have all these text messages that could look bad. They weren't deleted, but the phone calls were possibly deleted, according to Celebrate. I don't know. It just seems really inconsistent.
Didn't even give me private information.
So let me put it in context. A text from Nicole
If anything, the text messages could look way worse than the phone calls.
Lauber. We'll get info. We'll get more info tomorrow. I don't want to text about it. That was on the 29th, right?
Okay.
So, did you get additional info on the 30th, the next day?
I have no idea.
Did anything significant happen on January 30th in connection with this case?
Hi, Willie. How are you doing today?
I have no idea.
Did anything significant happen on January 30th in connection with this case?
January
Any
30th.
meetings, any get-togethers, anything that you can think of?
I went to the O'Keefe's house.
Other than that, anything else?
On the way home, Carrie Roberts' daughter is good friends with Michael Lank. So we dropped her off at Michael Lank's house, and Mike's wife came out of the house. Him and Carrie are friends, and she, jumped in the car and was consoling Carrie and asked how the O'Keefes were doing. And, we talked to her.
So you pulled up to Michael Lank's house on the 30th. That's never been reported, has it?
I guess I never thought much of it.
Never thought about reporting the fact that one of the first responding officers on the case, working for Canton PD, which is considered off the case, you had a meeting with, it was unreported the next day?
I didn't meet with Michael Lank.
I see. So you pulled up in the car. Tell me about that again. You pulled up in the car, and what happened?
And Lex, her daughter, went into the house.
Okay. And then you just drove away?
No, Michael's wife came out of the house.
Okay. And y'all had a conversation about what?
She got in the car, and her and Carrie are friends, and she was checking on Carrie and, just saying, oh my God, this is so crazy, just checking in on the O'Keefes.
How long did that take?
Well, Carrie's a talker, so could have been an hour.
Could have been hours standing outside,
Sitting in the car.
sitting in the car on February 30th. Never came in the house?
Not February 30th.
I said February 30th, January 30th.
Jan.
Never went in the house?
I might have ran in to go to the bathroom.
It's the back end of a blizzard. It's freezing cold outside. Sitting in the car for an hour?
The car was running, Carrie, and they were talking. It's her friend.
Did you have any conversation before your testimony today with anybody about you going to Michael Lank's house on January 30th? Anybody?
Yes,
Tell me about that. Who was it? And when?
it was a couple of weeks ago at the DA's office.
The DA's office had an interview with you, correct?
Not an interview, they just explained this process.
I mean, a conversation? How about that?
Yes.
You met with folks at the DA's office. Who did you meet with?
Mr. Lawley?
Mr. Lally, Ms. McLaughlin, Steve Nelson, Trooper Brian Tully, I believe, and another woman, I can't remember her name, unfortunately.
Someone from the DA's office?
Yes.
Beelan?
No.
Lynn Beelan?
No, she's here today. She works with Steve Nelson.
An employee of the DA's office?
Yes.
It sounds like a pretty big meeting.
I wouldn't call it a big meeting. There was, 5 of them?
How long did you, 5 of them, and then you?
My daughter Allie came with me also.
The meeting's getting bigger. Anybody else?
No, we both went.
Was Allie in the room when you were, I was going to say interviewed, but you take issue with every word I use, when you were talked to by the DA?
Allie and I were both in the room when they went over everything, how this all works, because this is all brand new to us. And then they asked me to leave the room.
You were about to say, and I lost the end of that sentence, when they received what?
I didn't mean the word received.
Did you receive anything?
No, I looked at my grand jury notes.
Now, at this meeting, was anybody
No name calling and shit, please. Let's keep it civil.
taking notes?
No.
You have a bunch of lawyers and DAs, and nobody has a notepad in front of them? Like notes?
I believe Mr. Lally had a number of folders on the table.
Taking notes from those?
I do not believe anyone was taking notes. It was a casual meeting to explain this process.
Was that meeting recorded in any way that you're aware of?
No.
How long did the meeting last?
Allie and I were probably in the room, approximately 20 minutes. Then I left and they spoke with her. And then I went back in and they spoke with me.
How long did they speak with you?
Honestly, maybe half hour.
And during that half hour to an hour, did they go over with you what they expected your testimony to be?
They never spoke about what they expected my testimony to be. They just showed me some pictures that might be shown. I listened to the 911.
What pictures?
Just of the house and how I'd be asked to, show. Okay, we're going to put a picture of the house and you'll have a laser.
Okay, when we started this conversation, it was because you said, in answer to my question, was anything ever brought up to you about this meeting at Light's house?
Mm-hmm.
You said yes.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously they did talk to you about your testimony. It wasn't just about the process, correct?
I asked what discovery had been turned in regard to me.
So you wanted to prepare to make sure that you knew what you might be asked on cross-examination, correct?
Yeah, I think the best way to approach this is to just stick by the trial stuff. I know there's been a lot of outside stuff that's happened outside of the trial, but for a lot of us, we started watching the trial from either day 1, day 2. I think we should just stick to what's going on in the trial today. And then if anything comes up with the FBI, blah, 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 will, consider those facts when it comes up. Because I'm sure, in defense, when they're going to present their theory, if they're able to get anything from the FBI stuff, they're going to bring it in, right? If it helps them.
I wanted to know what was coming. Yes.
And you knew that one of the things was coming after this meeting. Well, let me ask it a different way. During this meeting, did Mr. Lally tell you one of the things that's going to be coming is you had an off-the-books meeting at Lake's house for 45 minutes? Did he tell you that?
No, that's not how I was told.
Did he tell you that the defense had uncovered a report that established that you were actually at Michael Lake's house for 45 minutes that had never been reported to the defense or the prosecution before the phone extraction had been done? Did he tell you that?
I was asked, oh, were you at Michael Lank's on the 30th?
So you had a lot of time to come up with a story about why you were at Michael Lank's, correct?
Objection.
I'll allow it.
I didn't need time to make up a story because I have the truth of why we went.
And the truth, according to you, is you pulled up at Michael Lank's house. The first responding officer and friends of the Albans had a meeting with him the next day that was never reported to anybody for any purpose.
I
Just met with his wife out in the car while the car was running for 45 minutes to an hour. That's your story.
It's not a story, it's the truth. Carrie dropped her daughter off. The wife came out. Carrie is a talker. They started talking. A tragedy had happened the day before.
It is interesting, would you not agree, that the day before you had this off-the-books meeting at Michael Lank's house, Nicole Albert says, we'll get more info tomorrow, meaning the very day you show up at Lank's house.
Again, I never spoke with Mike Lank at his house. It was not an off-the-books meeting. It was Carrie dropping her daughter at one of her good friends' house, whose husband happens to be a Canton cop. That is what it is. That is the truth.
A lot of coincidences. Do you agree?
Objection.
Sustained.
Next, Romeo.
Yes.
What did Mr. Lally show you in respect of this issue about this meeting at Michael Lank's house?
He showed me nothing.
He just told you about it.
Brian Tully told me.
Okay, what did Mr. Tully tell you? Trooper Tully. What exactly did he tell you at this meeting about this Michael Lank issue?
He said, did you go to Michael Lank's on January 30th? And at first I said, no, I've never been to his house. And then I thought about it and I said, oh my gosh, yes, I did go there. And that was the extent of the conversation.
You said, yeah, I did go there, and he didn't ask a follow-up, like, what the heck were you doing at Michael Lank's house the day after this issue?
Objection.
Visited.
I'll allow it.
He didn't ask a follow-up like that?
I do not believe he did.
So Trooper Tully had you come down for an interview. He confronted you with a fact that had never been disclosed before, to wit. You showed up at Michael Lank's house, and when you said, yeah, oh yeah, hang on, I think your words were, oh my gosh, yeah, I think I did go there. And he didn't ask a follow-up question?
He was there. You're spinning all of this.
Ma'am, I do a lot of things.
Yeah.
I don't spin. There's a judge here to make sure that I don't spin. I'm asking you a question. It's very direct.
I do not believe he asked me a follow-up question.
So that was the end of that conversation about Michael Lank, correct?
Correct.
Mr. Lally didn't have any follow-up questions?
I don't believe Mr. Lally was in the room.
Who else? I thought you said Mr. Lally and Mr. McLaughlin.
They were. They might not have been in the room at that time.
I see. So Mr. Lally just happened to, just saunter out?
It was a different time.
So Mr. Lally was in and out of the conversation?
Mr. Lally was not there when this
Or was Mr. Lally?
conversation happened
Well, why is that?
because I met with Brian Tully and he was not there.
Is Brian Tully taking notes?
No.
He's a state trooper interviewing a witness. And
He was-
Objection.
Sustained.
Wait, okay, I'm going to go back. Hold on. Give me a second.
To wit, you showed up at Michael Lank's house, and when you said, yeah, oh yeah, hang on, I think your words were, oh my gosh, yeah, I think I did go there. And he didn't ask a follow-up question?
He was there. You're spinning all of this.
Ma'am, I do a lot of things.
Yeah.
I don't spin. There's a judge here to make sure that I don't spin. I'm asking you a question. It's very direct.
I do not believe he asked me a follow-up question.
So that was the end of that conversation about Michael Lank, correct?
Correct.
Mr. Lally didn't have any follow-up questions?
I don't believe Mr. Lally was in the room.
Who else? I thought you said Mr. Lally and Mr. McLaughlin.
They were. They might not have been in the room at that time.
I see. So Mr. Lally just happened to, just saunter out?
It was a different time.
So Mr. Lally was in and out of the conversation?
Mr. Lally was not there when this conversation happened
Well, why is that?
because I met with Brian Tully and he was not there.
Is Brian Tully taking notes?
No.
She said that her and Carrie only met once before, and it's because when John O'Keefe's sister passed away, she was taking care of one of the kids, and then Carrie was taking care of one of the kids. They were helping John O'Keefe with the two kids, and then John wanted to thank him. So, like, he had, like, this coupon for Reeboks, went and bought them shoes, and then I think took him out on, like, a thank you lunch or dinner or something like that. So, like, she's not really friends with Carrie. She's not really close with them. But what it could look like, it could be that the two of them could have trauma bonded after this event happened.
The state trooper interviewing a witness. And
He was-
Objection.
Sustained.
Hi, Kurt.
The same report that has you at Michael Lank's house also has you picking up Nicole Albert going by 34 Fairview just before you went to Michael Lang's house. You aware of that?
We did not pick up Nicole Albert.
So you went by 34 Fairview, then diverted, and right after you went by 34 Fairview, went directly over to Michael Lang's house. What was the reason that you stopped by 34 Fairview first?
We didn't stop by. Maybe Kerry slowed down, but we did not stop by 34.
So you did a drive-by 34 Fairview. Giggles? What?
No, that's how we get to Michael Lang's house.
If the report shows that you actually stopped at 34 Fairview and then went to Michael Lang's house, would we have another oh my gosh moment?
Nope, no oh my gosh moment. We did not pick up Nicole Albert.
Did anybody else go with you over to Michael Lang's house?
No, it was Kerry, myself, and her daughter.
Your Honor, maybe briefly.
Okay.
Oh, this is John O'Keefe's mom. I believe. Who's the woman sitting next to her? She looks annoyed, like she's not having it, but I don't know if it's directed towards the defense or the witness. I honestly don't know where his family stands in all this.
Ms. McCabe, we've talked in some detail about your calls with John O'Keefe on the morning of January 29th. Do you recall that conversation? I want to focus your attention on or at 12:14 a.m., moving up to about 12:50 a.m. You have that time in mind?
Yes,
You've seen the telephone extraction from John O'Keefe's phone, which Mr. Lally showed you the other day, correct?
correct,
And you went through the series of phone calls that were made and that appear on his extraction report, correct?
correct,
I just want to run through those time-wise very quickly just to orient you, if I can, and then I'll ask you some specific questions about it. There was a call at 12:14 a.m., correct?
correct,
That was a call that you indicated was answered. You had a conversation with Mr. O'Keefe.
correct,
There was a call at 12:18 and 47 seconds. That call also was answered by you. John O'Keefe made that phone call, correct?
correct,
Then there's the 12:29 and 44-second call that you indicated was not
Yes, sir.
answered.
correct,
It was quickly just to orient you, if I can, and then I'll ask you some specific questions about it. There was a call at 12:14 a.m., correct?
correct,
That was a call that you indicated was answered. You had a conversation with Mr. O'Keefe.
Yep.
correct,
There was a call at 12:18 and 47 seconds. That call also was answered by you. John O'Keefe made that phone call, correct?
correct,
Then there's the 12:29 and 44-second call that you indicated was not answered,
correct,
and that was a call to you, from you to him.
correct,
There was a 12:41 call from you to John O'Keefe, correct? That was.
correct,
There was a 12:41 and 54-second call from you to him. Is that right?
correct,
There was a 12:43 and 19-second call from you to him.
correct,
12:46 a.m. and 16 seconds from you to him.
correct,
12:47 and 52 seconds from you to him.
correct,
And 12:50 and 37 seconds from you to him, correct?
correct,
You saw in his extraction report that all of those calls after 12:18 were missed calls, correct?
in his report that you showed me?
Correct. In other words, the only two calls that were answered were the 12:14 and 12:18. Everything else was a missed call.
I believe so. I would have to refer to it again because I've seen so many reports.
And Ms. McCabe, according to the extraction reports that you've seen this morning, comparing yours to his, every single one of those calls was deleted off your phone, correct? According to the reports.
According to that report, yes.
Let me ask you another question. Have you ever misplaced your phone?
Yes.
In life, everybody does it, right?
Yes.
What's one of the first things you do if you're with your daughter or your husband or a friend and you're in your house and you misplace your phone? What do you do?
Oh, I'll ask them to call my phone.
Right? Even over and over and over, right?
Correct.
Could be as many as 5, 6, 7 times.
Usually I hear it the first or second time.
You're looking for a buzz or a ring, isn't that right?
Correct.
And you might do that if you're searching for a missing phone, correct?
Correct.
With regard to the calls that were deleted from your phone, you were asked about this under oath at another proceeding, weren't you?
Correct.
And you claimed at another proceeding that you had an explanation for all these missed calls starting at 12:29, 12:41, 12:41, 12:43, 12:46, 12:47, 12:50. You have an explanation for that, right?
Can I see the report?
I'm asking you about your prior testimony.
And I'm asking.
About these calls,
Yes, I'm asking. Can I see it, please?
I'm asking you a different question. At this other proceeding, which you were under oath,
Yes.
right? You explained that these calls were what? These missed calls, incessant missed calls. What were they? You used the word. Right? 2 words.
I believe I used the word butt dials.
You claimed that
Wait. So now she's saying they're butt dials? But then they were deleted calls?
every one of these calls was a butt dial. Is that right?
Yes.
So according to you, you literally butt dialed John O'Keefe's phone 6 times in the span of 19 minutes. Is that right?
I don't remember making any of those calls, so my assumption is I put my phone in my back pocket.
But Julie Nagel said that Was it Julie Nagel or is it Sarah? I think no, it was Sarah Levinson. Sarah Levinson said that Jen had her phone charged on some wall, and then she would periodically come back and forth and like mess with it or check something like that. How could you butt dial if your phone was charging?
And that was it.
When you dial someone by mistake, you hit a button, set your phone down, the phone has to be open. You'll agree with that, right?
Correct.
Can't be locked. It takes several iterations of movement to get a phone open. Face ID or password, right?
Correct.
So when you hit the button by mistake, walk away. That's a butt dial. People call butt dials. What happens with the call?
I assume it goes to voicemail.
No assumption.
Oh, that's right, because hold on a second, because she did send text messages in between some of those calls, right? I don't remember when the text message times were.
Because that's exactly what it does, isn't it? You've had a phone for a lot of years, right?
Yes.
It rings and rings and rings until it goes to voicemail.
Correct.
So in order to hang up that butt dial, you have to interact with that phone yet again, don't you?
Yes.
So if you had 6 butt dials, it's 7
What if my ass is on my shoulders, huh?
butt dials. You not only
I
have to
have
interact
no
with the phone
ass.
once, the butt dial, John. You then have to interact with it every single time to turn off that phone ringer so it doesn't go to voicemail, wouldn't you?
I suppose.
Like, here's another theory. What if they weren't involved, right? But she thought that it may look bad. It might be like bad optics to have called John multiple times that night. And then she's like, oh, maybe I should delete it because it looks bad. Like, what if she did that too?
Makes 14 interfaces with that phone over the course of 19 minutes. Is that right?
But I would imagine if you're going to delete calls, you would consult with your law enforcement brother-in-law and family members. Like, hey, if I delete calls, do you think the police, are they going to be able to extract that from my phone? Because, you know, some people, they Google search that, right? But she has access to, like, you know, law enforcement family members. Wouldn't she just ask them? I don't know. There's just so many things about this. It just does not make sense, like, on either side.
I mean, I guess I don't have it all right in front of me, but there were also text messages I was sending. So again, maybe I said, oh, shoot, I called them, and then I turned it off.
But your claim is you don't remember those incessant butt dials and those incessant hangups at all, correct?
I honestly don't.
So you would have had to forget that you interacted with, by the way, you'll read the phone extraction show that John Keith got no voicemails from you, right?
I didn't look, but
I mean, sometimes my shoulders are a pain in the ass.
So that means you would have to interact with that phone 14 times over the course of 19 minutes at the exact time frame that the Commonwealth suggests John O'Keefe lost his life.
Objection.
Sustained. You can ask that differently, and this will be your last question for today, please.
Yes, Your Honor. The period between 1229 and 1250, which is the exact period that you were, quote, butt dialing John multiple times, that's also the exact period that John O'Keefe was rendered incapacitated. Is that right?
Objection.
That's sustained. We'll start up again tomorrow, okay?
Thank you.
All right, folks, so I'm going to stay there and walk out the door. Thank you. Thank you. All right, so jurors, please do not discuss this case with anyone. Don't do any independent research.
Oh man, what a way to end the day. I don't know. The whole thing is just so confusing. It really is. So my takeaways from Jen's cross-examination today. I think a major win for the defense was, so Jen testified saying, that Karen says, I hit him. But the defense went back to her grand jury statement and was like, hey, here's the transcript here. It seems like you said, could I hit him? Could she hit him? What if I hit him? Did I hit him? Could I hit him? And he found this 12 separate times that Karen said the above. So that was pretty strong in my opinion. Let's see, what else was there that really stood out to me? Apparently there were 2 phone calls that she made to Nicole at 6:07 a.m., 6:08 a.m. Those were, it says that it was answered for 7 seconds and 8 seconds. But she said she never made those calls. She never called them and never left a voice message. And then the defense said that those calls were also deleted. And then we're like, well, what if it went to voice message? Or what if it shows up funky on the Cellbrite thing? I don't fucking know. However, at 6:23 though, Brian Albert, there was a call and it showed no answer. So if she called her sister and those were also no answered, it would technically show as no answer as well, right? I don't know. Are these Celebrate reports shitty or something? Are they not reliable or what? Or I want to know about this because I think Celebrate is what law enforcement typically used, right? I feel like I've heard of the term Celebrate before. So that was, kind of a big one for me. Let's see, call records. Yeah, I have to look at Jen's text messages with John because Jen is saying that from the 12:29 p.m. to 12:50 p.m., a.m. time period, there are multiple calls made to John. However, she said she didn't do them. They must have been butt dials. But I wonder, I could have sworn she was also texting within that time frame. I don't know if I took a screenshot of that. And I also do want to remind you guys that Julie Nagel said that Jen had her phone charged and she would periodically look at it. But maybe that was after she was calling John O'Keefe. Because I don't know if Lolly really established a time frame when Jen had her phone charged by the counter or something, and she would get it periodically to check, as if she was trying to see if someone's going to come inside or not. I don't know. I mean, what's the theory here? That Jen saw John get hit by a car and that it was Allie picking up Colin, or it was Julie Nagel's brother and she's trying to cover for them? I just don't know. If Jen was inside trying to call John and John got hit while he was outside, I don't know. What would be the... I'm not really quite sure where we're going here. But this does plant, probably some doubt in the jury's mind. I know the defense doesn't have they don't have to have a cohesive story for the jury, but I'm just trying to see okay, what are some alternate theories that they're trying to throw? Anything else that stands out to you guys? Yeah, I mean, those are, for me, it's mostly phone calls, text messages, all that stuff. And then the grand jury transcripts. Oh boy. But, we always have to give a chance for Lolly to do the redirect, because maybe Lolly will come up and redirect. Was like, actually, in the grand jury, blah, 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 here is the transcript right here that says that you said Karen says, I hit him. Right? Maybe that will happen. Maybe it won't happen. Maybe she misremembered. Maybe at some point they all got together and maybe they were in their minds convinced that it was Karen, and maybe their memories could have, maybe they could have misremembered or something. All right, I don't know. We're in cross-examination. Honestly, I think the phone calls are weird. And the grand jury stuff, the inconsistency is weird. But I'm honestly not really... I hate to say this, and this is just a boring take. I just don't really feel super convinced either way. I don't know. I think it looks really fucky on both sides, but there are times when she's up there testifying and when he's trying to catch her with the inconsistency and she explains it, it sounds truthful to me. I don't know, but there's a lot of weird shit going on. I don't know. This one is, this one truly stumps me. And I want to know. I hate not knowing. I want to fucking know what's going on. Oh, sorry. Is the judge going to talk about scheduling? Are we doing half day Tuesday, Thursdays, or did she change her mind or what?
The case, if you happen to see, hear, or read anything about the case, please disregard it. Now, tomorrow will be a full day. The forecast is going to be very hot. You'll see this courtroom fluctuates. It could be really cold in here. It could be really...
Hi, Ninjas. How are you doing today? Yeah, I mean, at where we're at right now, I definitely don't feel like we're at the beyond a reasonable doubt threshold. So, you know how there are some cases where you hear some of the couple testimonies and you're like, oh, wow, okay, these are some big testimonies. And then by the time the state rests and the defense has to present, it's like, huh, well, I don't know how you're going to do it, but, have a blast. I don't know. She reminds me of Amber Heard dodging all the questions and having her own narrative. I don't know what it is. I don't know how to explain it, but for me, how she answered a lot of it, I don't know. It seemed truthful to me. But like I said, there's a lot of weird fucky shit. So I don't know if, if it's just me being really, I don't know, like sometimes people can fool me, right? I feel like sometimes I have like, I feel like, you know, usually I like have a pretty, or and I think we all do. We all think we have a good sense of like when we're dealing with someone who's manipulative or lying and stuff like that. But I don't know. To me, like I thought she did pretty good in direct examination. Like I mentioned, there was like a major thing that I pointed out about what she said Karen said to her, and then when we saw the surveillance footage, it just didn't track with what she said at all. And I'm sure Cross will get into that. But she seemed truthful to me. I don't know. What if she really thinks she's telling the truth? But then I don't know. I don't know. This one stumps me. This one definitely stumps me. So we'll just keep on going to day 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. And I'll update you guys with where I'm at. I'm sorry. It's just, I don't have any, there's nothing interesting that I have to say right now because I'm just as, what the fuck? Confused. What was later on? Sorry, what were we talking about? That was later on. Sorry, what are we talking about? That was later on. What was later on? It's always going to be there, deleted or not. Data is always... Oh, and also, the stuff that's deleted, I just don't understand why she would delete it. Why delete phone calls? Because I felt like the text messages, if anything, looked more incriminating. If she really wanted to hide things, why wouldn't she delete text messages instead of the phone calls? I don't know. What does FGS stands for again? Day 30, Corgi so confused. Yeah, I am. I'm not gonna sit here and pretend like I know what the fuck is going on. I'm trying to interpret as much as this as I can, and I'm still kind of like, okay, well, what else is there? Can we see some text messages? Can we see more phone call records? Can we just get the experts up here? I don't know. We need someone to just interpret some of those things. I don't know. At least we have a timeline set. A timeline is set now. Because I was a little bit unsure with the timeline. What else did I want to say? I think that's probably about it. All right, y'all. Thanks for joining me today on Jen McCabe's cross-examination. Timeline. I mean, yeah. I mean, because before I wasn't really sure about the timeline. It was kind of all over the place. But now we have like a timeline of like, okay, what time people left, what time people arrived at the house. What happened when, you know, Karen Reed dropped off John at the house to when they found him the next day. Because that was a chunkling that I wasn't really sure how it happened. Like, who woke up who went where, and all that stuff. Yeah, you're a visual person too. Yeah, I hope so. I hope Carrie will testify. Can't wait to hear from Carrie. But it seems like from what Jen McCabe is saying, it seems like Carrie is not a fan of Karen Reed. And it could be because either Carrie believes that Karen Reed is responsible for this. Maybe there's sort of like enmity for other reasons. I don't know. But yeah, I can't wait for her to testify. And I can't wait to hear from, I don't know, other people as well, I guess. Whew. All right, y'all. I have to go out of town today. So I'm going to, I don't know, the stream schedules might be a little bit wonky. Oh, sorry. I want to listen to the judge. Is she going to tell us if we're going to have half days or full days this week? The boomer butt is old. Your boomer butt is old.
Potted here, so we'll be bringing us. All right, let's see. Thank you.
You're closing and leaving your notebooks.
Wait, the judge is not going. She's not going to address the scheduling, or did I miss it because I'm a fucking idiot? Am I an idiot? I might be an idiot.
Objection.
That's sustained. We'll start up again tomorrow, okay?
All right, folks, I'm going to stay there. Thank you. All right, so jurors, please do not discuss this case with anyone. Don't do any independent research or investigation into the case. If you happen to see, hear, or read anything about the case, please disregard. Now, tomorrow will be a full day. The forecast is going to be very hot. You'll see this cold is fluctuating. It could be really cold in here. It could be really hot in here. So we'll be bringing up sweaters. All right, let's see. Thank you.
You're closing and leaving your notebooks.
I wanted to know if Tuesdays and Thursdays are still going to be half days, because on Friday she said that she was going to possibly amend that. I don't know. Yeah, the 6-7 times whatever butt dial, and then possibly those calls being deleted. That lines up a little bit too. That lines up a little too well. Because I the butt dial thing, like I'm like, yeah, I've butt dialed people before. You know, having 6 to 7 times, maybe. But if those butt dials were the ones that were also deleted, then that's too much of a coinkadink. But does that mean anything? Could she just have been deleting it because she thought it might look bad and she wanted to get ahead of it? I don't know. I don't know. All right. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining us today. I think chat was, for the most part, pretty civil. Moving forward, I think we're probably gonna have to do more timeouts or deletes, or maybe like a, just ban if we have to. But for the most part, today was okay. I know sometimes it gets really spicy, hot, and heated. I don't know if maybe it would help to just have like rules listed or something, rotating rules. I don't know. I usually don't have that because I feel like you're usually okay. But maybe that's something that we should have. Like no insults, no derailing the chat. I don't know. What are some other rules people have? Stuff like that. Because I think it's okay to disagree. There's nothing wrong with disagreeing. And I think especially with a case like this, it's very divisive. But there's a way to disagree without being extremely fucking disrespectful. I understand like throwing some jabs here and there because sometimes it's funny to be spicy. But there's a difference between like throwing jabs and stuff like that and like outright just like insulting someone. So I think for the most part, y'all were pretty good. Y'all were pretty good. I think the best way to approach this case though, because usually what happens is I'll do like a lot of research before a case happens. And then if someone says something and I think it's wrong, I'll like try to correct them. But this one's a little bit hard because it's one of those where I'm just hopping on as a day one trial juror pretty much. And there's, things said in the chat and I don't know if they're fucking true or not, right? So I think the best way to approach this, since I haven't done extensive research outside of this, would just be, let's just take the trial day by day and focus on the witnesses as they come and the testimonies as they come. I think that's the best way to do it. And I like that because I don't think I want to do a lot of outside research on this. I tried getting court docs and stuff like that, but I wasn't really able to find much. I have not scoured the Reddit yet though. Someone did mention that like, oh, a lot of the stuff is probably on the Reddit, and I was like, maybe. I tried Googling for the court docs, just nothing came up. I went to the Commonwealth website and it just wasn't really, I don't know. I tried typing in like Karen Reed, blah, blah, blah. And like, I don't know, it didn't work for me. So I don't know, maybe that day, if the site was down, but I haven't tried since then. And I've been kind of lazy right now. All right, y'all. Well, I have to go out of town. So I'll try to stream this week. I won't be streaming it live. So we'll probably have to do like a, I don't know, after hour stream or something like that. The good thing about this case is that it is East Coast time zone. So by the time the trial ends, it's 1 o'clock my time, and we'll see. We'll see how it is. All right, y'all. I hope you guys have a good one. You did a deep dive on Reddit. I mean, it's not like I haven't seen some stuff. Like I've seen some stuff. And then I saw like one interview that Karen did, but it was like a really short interview and it was like really chopped up. It wasn't like a whole like segment or anything like that. So maybe afterwards we can watch a bunch of stuff like that. But honestly, for this case, I don't know. I'm just watching it day by day. That's how I'm doing it. All right, y'all. I hope you guys have a good one. I hope you guys take care. And I will see you guys hopefully tomorrow. Hopefully tomorrow we'll be streaming this when Jen McCabe continues the cross-examination. And then maybe Carrie Roberts. Maybe we'll hear from Carrie Roberts. Or maybe we'll take a little break and we'll hear from experts or something like that. All right? I hope you guys have a good one. Take care. Fluff my hair one more time. Now, my hair is naturally kind of like meh. I think I'm going to dye it though, because I don't think the black suits my skin tone. I want to go back to brown. All right. Thank you so much for hanging out. I hope you guys have a good one. I appreciate y'all being here, all of you guys. And take care. All right? Yeah, bye.